This is how to destroy your 400 mil company over a set of Legos. The full saga of Reckless Ben versus Bam. I've been seeing this story about the Lego thing, so I might as well just give it a watch now and chill. And coincidentally, we've been also just talking about like Pokemon Legos and the Rayquaza when it just came out. So you know what? Let's give it a watch. I forget his name, but he's doing so much for the situation. If you want the most entertaining, watch what's most critical. Dang. Okay, you know what? You know what? Hold on a second. Let me see which one I compare. Because I wanted someone to catalog like the most of it. Moist does a really good job also capturing some stuff, but merging a list looks like some big, some big old edits like that. So what the heck? I haven't watched Moist Critical in a hot minute. Something with iDubbbz. Excuse me. Bad news for Lego scandal. Is it like a multiple episode thingy? Lego Vigilantes. Oh my god! It's like so. There's, I'm gonna watch the Mugen one. It probably has like a more cohesive one. Oh.
Lego is a hobby that is
bricks and minifigs did nothing wrong. Oh my god, Rena, hi.
It was seen as something that was specifically targeted towards children. But many of the kids that initially loved the hobby when they were growing up are now adults. And so today we can safely say that it has become a hobby for all ages. It's more successful than ever, and it's just seen as this innocent little pastime that anyone from any background or age can enjoy. But what if I told you that this innocent hobby had a hand in the theft of over $200,000, involving a very suspicious police raid in which the officers were armed to the teeth with assault rifles, multiple illegal arrests, the direct participation of Patreon CEO, and the public reveal of Mormon mafia-style tactics?
What the hell? What is this rabbit hole? The more I hear about it, the more insane the situation gets. Like, what the heck? To be fair, everyone does. What the heck? Oh my gosh.
That were colluding with one of the most corrupt police organizations in the country. This was such massive news that you could find it on multiple different national news channels. What the YouTuber Reckless Ben uncovered was an unprecedented level of systemic corruption aimed at the average person to silence them, to intimidate them. But he exposed it all to the world. And the world listened very intently. If you've been on the internet for like the last month, you would have most likely seen or heard of this, the Lego situation. It has gone absolutely viral,
Lego situation.
And people are outraged. At the same time, though, this is a very complex and highly fluid situation that's being updated constantly. Most videos are served in chunks, and there's not one that explains everything from start to finish. So seeing how much of an important topic this has become, I figured I'd make a video to talk about it. All of it. And so without further ado, let's do this. After a quick sponsor. In life, I have a simple philosophy. I love free shit. You know which game agrees with this philosophy? Duet Night Abyss. Yes, the gacha game that stripped all gacha mechanics out from its gameplay right before release. No gacha system, no stamina system, and the only monetization is cosmetics. There are no pay-to-win elements. Like this angel skin for Flora, one of the 2 new characters coming out this update alongside Hilda.
How's the physics,
and what's even better is that they're releasing their 1.4 update with a free character selector, a free weapon selector,
this is the Lego situation video. I'm not sure if you heard about it, Cupid.
Another character selector as well as Lego skins for free. But that's not all. You'll also find new story content, a new challenging dungeon, and a major evolution of the weapon build crafting experience. And that's without mentioning that they're adding a new guild system.
You're very informed. I am uninformed. Maybe you can help me. I am extremely uninformed.
Then make sure to get the game today using the link.
The more I hear, the crazier it gets. But I don't know. I don't know the entire timeline. This is just the timeline of it.
Thank you to DNA for sponsoring this video. Norway, a Scandinavian country west of Sweden. In geopolitical conversations, the only thing really mentioned about it is how rich it is in natural resources, most notably oil. In fact, Norway makes so much money from the sale of its natural resources that it's actually a country in profit. It actually makes money. And so, in the year 1998, this would lead them to come up with a wonderful idea. What if we take this extra profit and invest it? Whether it be stocks, projects,
people don't
bonds,
understand the drama,
you name it. They would then use this money for the welfare of their citizens. It was an amazing idea, and it worked brilliantly. In fact, if you were to liquidate the entire sovereign wealth fund of Norway and divide it equally among its citizens, then every single one of them would receive over 350,000 USD. Isn't that insane? Other countries would see this and quickly take notice. You'd have many of them follow the same philosophy, whether it be Australia, Singapore, or even more recently, Saudi Arabia, through their public investment fund. Investing in
Why is this picture Mr.
Beast? But hey, it's wonderful to see these countries actually use their money somewhat responsibly. But what if instead of a country, you'd have a religion come up with the same idea? At first, it might sound silly to even suggest that, but then you realize that the Mormons did exactly that. The Mormon religion is headed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And as of 2023, the church's net worth is estimated to be around $265
I'm getting Mormon lore in my Lego video.
$250 billion owned by a religion. How the hell does this even happen? Well, a lot of it is thanks to tithing. This has been a thing for a long time, and it pretty much involves a Mormon giving away 10% of what he earned during the year to the Church of the Latter-day Saints. I guess you can call it some sort of a religious
It's always
tax.
religion.
Now, they say it's not mandatory. And yeah, technically, no one's really going to knock on your door and punch you in the face until you pay up. But if you don't pay, then you'll be shunned. People will probably not really want to interact with you. You'll be isolated. But more importantly, you will not have access to Mormon temples. You see, Mormon temples are these beautiful structures built all around the world. But to enter them, you need to meet very specific criteria.
Mega church
even if you're invited there to like see someone else's
cringe.
One of those very strict requirements is the fact that you've been paying your tithe, your 10%. If you haven't been doing that, then you will never enter the temple. This is really important because in order to access the highest level in heaven, you have to get married in one of these temples. And if you can't do that, well, the elevator to the highest level is simply
don't get married, save your money.
This is why so many Mormons pay that 10%, and this is how the church has been able to rack up so much capital to invest.
Save the money.
In 2026, it's estimated that their net worth is now almost $300 billion. They are the richest religion on the planet, and they're more wealthy than almost every other Christian sect combined. In fact, forget other religions, okay? They hold more assets than most countries on the planet produce in GDP. But to be fair, they don't just take from their people, they also give back. For example, BYU is regarded as the Mormon college. This is where Mormons go to study higher education, and if you meet the criteria of being a good Mormon, then the church pays 70% of your tuition. Yeah, I mean, they can afford to do that, okay? I mean, look at how many assets they hold across the United States of America.
That shit's very high.
Office spaces, residential, retail, agricultural, commercial, you name it. There's not a single state they don't do business in, okay? But if you look at where their assets are most concentrated in the entire country, then you'd probably want to zoom in here. This is the state of Utah, and they practically own that state. This isn't a conspiracy. It's simply the truth. You see, Mormonism was founded in the 1800s by the Mormon prophet. He would successfully convert quite a few people to Mormonism, but many other Americans were not really so down with his ideas that conflicted directly with their religions. So, in classic American fashion, he got shot. This would lead his people to go in exile, leaving the United States and going to northern Mexico, which at the time still covered places like Utah, California, etc. They would kick out whichever natives were living there, and they would quickly build up a massive city by the name of Salt Lake City.
History is crazy, man.
This part of Mexico, and the Mormons would be integrated into American society. They've been in Utah ever since. Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering, Mugen, why the hell did you just talk to me about Mormons for like the last 10 minutes? Well, first off, it's because you're watching a Mugen video. But more importantly, this leads me to what this video is about.
Yeah, I'm curious. Tell this.
Bricks and Minifigs, who just so happens to be based in Utah. This is a company that is a Lego reseller, but it doesn't sell brand new sets. It's focused on aftermarket Legos, ones that were used already. If you have old Legos, you could sell it directly to them, or you can buy some. This company was founded in 2010. However, in 2018, Ammon McNeff, who just so happened to be Mormon, came from Utah and also attended BYU, the most Mormon university in the United States.
What the heck?
The company with his brother. He would move the company headquarters immediately to Utah. But look, to Ammon's credit, this was a very highly rated chain of stores. In fact, after acquiring the company, he would grow it like
chat,
crazy.
Thanks for letting me know about the other stuff.
It would have a handful of stores, and by 2026, it would have over 300. They'd be a mix of directly owned stores, but also franchisee stores. And the cool thing is that anyone could become a franchisee. Their franchising model was very straightforward. It was similar to fast food franchises like McDonald's, for example. You'd have to do the legwork, right? But all it took was
since Mugen mentioned McDonald's, I worked in a McDonald's that was not owned by the company. It was someone who just basically like, basically buys like just like the permissions to like open their own McDonald's. And I worked in there for like about 5 years.
finding good location, researching your audience, sourcing
that was my
your own
college
inventory,
job,
and sharpen your business skills. This is
it was
what you can
inside
find
of a
on the Bricks
Walmart.
and Minifigs official page for franchising. What I do want to do though is highlight point 3, which is sourcing your own inventory. When you become a franchisee for Bricks and Minifigs, you're essentially handling everything. The only thing you're really borrowing from them is their logo and reputation. And for that, you pay them a percentage of your sales. Fairly straightforward. When it comes to the actual inventory in the store though, this is fully your responsibility and you own that. Bricks and Minifigs will not be sending you any product or anything. So with the CEO's rapid expansion and this very profitable franchisee business model, by 2026, Bricks and Minifigs would become worth over $400 million. It was very impressive. It would also attract
reputation
many
anymore.
people from many different backgrounds, including but not limited to Crystal. She would apply for the franchisee program with Bricks and Minifigs and be approved. Her store would end up being located in the state of Oregon, more specifically in the town of Salem. And at some point during the year of 2023, she'd be approached by a man named Brian Mansell. You see, Brian had a dad who was now in his 80s and who had decided around 20 plus years prior to invest his money in a more out-of-the-box asset class, Legos. Today, you hear people always talking about where you should invest your money, and it's usually always
Pokemon
about
cards.
stocks or bonds.
Invest in Pokemon cards.
But back then,
I'm kidding,
in the
by the
early
way.
2000s, people had just gone through the dot-com bubble. Confidence in the stock market was at all-time lows. So I'm sure this somewhat contributed to the decision that Brian's dad took in investing his life savings in Legos, but not just any Legos. It would be limited edition Star Wars Legos. And if you don't know much about how Lego works, well, they don't typically recreate their sets. This was something that had come out in the early 2000s, and that was that. When they were sold out,
I knew so many Lego collectors.
Dad understood this very
I worked in
well,
conventions
and knew that in
and
the future,
Comic-Con
there would be
and stuff.
incredible demand over these rare sets. And so he bought 780 sets and 1,200
For so many years.
minifigures over those years. 2 of those sets would be the Lego Star Wars Cloud City set. And as you can see, I'm on StockX right now. The lowest offer for one of these sets is 18,400 euros. And while yes, I'm sure your jaw's on the floor right now, I'd say don't get too excited, because while yes, the lowest offer is quite high, this is not a liquid market. One look at the market data and you would see that. One sold in 2022,
Oh my
one sold in
gosh.
2023, and the last sale was May 2026 at 10,000 euros. Selling just one of these bad boys was pretty much like selling a house, okay? It doesn't happen overnight. And when you have 780 sets and 1,200 minifigures, you'd probably need to hire people in order to sell all of them effectively. This is why Brian and his dad would make the decision to go to Crystal's store in Salem, Oregon. That way, she can sell them on their behalf. But seeing that all these sets and minifigures were like around $200,000 and Crystal was responsible for her own inventory, she couldn't just flat out buy all of it, right? It's like a massive down payment for a mortgage. So what they would do instead
Who's
is
buying
sign
these,
an
though?
agreement together. More specifically, one that involved...
Yo, at some point, look, chat, I've been looking at videos and also, you know, close to proximity people who are very into like selling Pokemon slabs. So Pokemon slabs, if you don't know this, is basically like graded cards. So I've been hearing about the market, and once people get money of this magnitude, they just start like filtering the money around each other. And it's like, wow, what the heck? It's such a crazy market. The reseller market and the secondhand market, it's such a big world of difference. Like some people can just literally just like retire like the next day if they got like the right capital and the right they make the right moves, and of course, you know, owning the right things. It's not every Lego, it's not every old collector stuff. It has to be like highly specific items. It's like just collector things around, and some people even like rebuy them just for like, I don't know, maybe some tax purposes or like to equity. And we're getting into like a place where I am not trained. By the way, anything that I say on this video is not financial advice. There you go. That was a good morning. Ruin hobbies, yes. Basically, that's the plot of this.
Consignment. This means that Brian
I just want to buy Pokemon booster packs.
These Legos, they would be
or little Lego figures.
They would be given to Crystal and her store.
Take my financial advice.
For them. They would
That's
be
right.
sold for
Invest
them,
in VTubing. Invest on Sane.
They agreed on a 65% to 35% split, with Crystal's store keeping 35% and Brian receiving 65% in the form of monthly payments whenever they would actually sell anything. This agreement would be made around the end of 2023, right? More specifically, maybe around end of October, early November. And as we can see on this Facebook post by the Salem store, they were very excited. saying that they were going to display one of the
large... Okay. I have a topic here for a second. Like the moment I heard like about someone selling, I'm gonna say the moment I heard about like the system, how it works, like the store keeps the figures, and when they sell them for you, they keep a percentage, and then they sell them. My ass would not do that with like collector's items. I own in Puerto Rico like a few old video games. I haven't been able to like completely transfer them here, but I told my mom to not put those in like an actual storage. They're just scattered to like some family's houses. So I'm like, damn, if I'm ever gonna be taking part of that, I wonder how I'm gonna take care of it. I'm gonna collect some of it. I'm gonna depart with some of it. I've been departing with part of it. I did sell some good games so that I'm able to like afford rent in my place when I moved to the US. So I did part it away, but like a huge chunk of it. But there's a whole bunch that I don't know exactly how to move, and I do not trust a store for this exact purposes. There is no way. I'd rather just like slowly, if I am gonna sell it, if I'm gonna retire, I would rather slowly sell it myself, or like a dragon, I'm just gonna like rest down with it. Whoever finds it is gonna find the one piece in my place. I got all the Pokemon cards that I open in like videos and stuff. Oh my gosh.
Largest, most valuable
I don't know.
Privately held collections of
I wouldn't trust anybody like this. A store where like taking a cut
to journalists,
but I totally get it why.
Photos before
it's
they would
time
go on sale. And more importantly,
effort.
They specified the collection is now estimated to be worth well over $200,000. And hey, you know what? Things were going great. For around a year, Crystal would find buyers periodically for certain sets or minifigures. When she would, at the end of every month, she would send the payments to Brian. It was a wonderful deal that benefited both parties.
Easy peasy, right?
But, as you probably know by now, that amazing status quo would not last indefinitely. Because after 1 year of smooth sailing,
what did they do?
Crystal would find herself kicked out of her own store with no access to her inventory, and Brian would find himself with no trace of his collection against a corporation that was threatening legal action if he asked any questions. This was the beginning of the end.
So she got kicked out of the store?
2024.
She got fired?
1 year after having signed the consignment agreement with Brian, Crystal would receive a job offer abroad with her husband. But instead of just closing down the store, she wanted to sell it back to Bricks and Minifigs corporate. So on the 14th of November, she would contact corporate and tell them, hey, listen, I have a job abroad. I'm planning to leave. How can I sell this store back to you guys? On the same day, Bricks and Minifigs would send a representative of theirs by the name of Brandon Best, this guy right here. And according to Crystal, he would seize the location immediately with no notice or no process that is actually required under their franchise agreement. He wouldn't even allow her to make inventory, see like what everything she has is worth.
I don't usually judge, but immediately this looks like a piece of shit.
Important detail because the inventory is owned by the franchisee. We can see this on the franchisee like steps required on the Bricks and Minifigs website. But the thing with Crystal was that one of her main concerns was how the most valuable aspects of her inventory were Brian's collection. So she asked Brandon in a very straightforward way, hey, what the hell is going to happen to things like consignment agreements? And here's what he would say.
These are ones that he has not been paid his percentage yet. And if I don't have the tickets, I won't know how much I need to pay him.
That's a business thing and not necessarily yours. He's taking on the business, he takes on all that consignment.
So this was Brandon, sent over by corporate saying, hey, you don't got to worry about any of this. The person taking over the franchise will handle this because this is business stuff. And the only reason we have
just
this
answer
right
the question. I fucking hate vagueness like this.
Recording that night, and she kept this footage. However, shortly after this, when she would push back and say, hey, I have to do inventory, you can't just take the store in one day, it goes against the agreement, she claims that she was threatened with the police and other legal procedures that would have made her broke. So she left, and she lost the store that same day. She'd notify Brian about this, and Brian would of course contact the store, and when he did, surprise, surprise, it would be as if amnesia struck the town of Salem. Not a single person in that store knew what he was talking about. What Star Wars set? What consignment? What is that? We know nothing about any of this.
Was it that much? Could he just walk in there and just take it? Okay, maybe that'll be explained pretty soon. Like there's a paper, there's evidence that it belongs to him.
Even though there's a video from December 2024, 1 month after Crystal was forced out, that shows a massive Star Wars collection still present in the store. Additionally, his consignment contract wasn't written by ChatGPT, okay? It did have a transfer of rights clause, so if anyone would take over this franchise, they would also take responsibility for his collection and would have to keep it going. But that didn't matter. He was ghosted at this point and couldn't reach the store. He couldn't even look at the inventory. He was banned. So look, at this point, Brian had become desperate. This was what his father had left him. This was practically his inheritance.
Damn.
First he was told that no such thing exists, no agreement, no consignment exists.
They did him so dirty there. What the heck?
Ghosted. And so out of desperation, he would reach out to a YouTube channel by the name of Collecting Weekly. This is where you'd have multiple LEGO content creators get involved here to try and get his LEGO collection back. The video's description would say that his collection was mishandled and sold without proper authorization following a reported change in store ownership. This was back in April 2025. You even see Brian himself in the comments saying, "Can't thank you enough for getting this out there. We are going to continue to go after this deal in any way possible. I will answer any questions as well. Thanks, guys." However, even though they really tried their best to help him, their help would stop abruptly, and we only knew why recently. Hear it for yourself.
They were threatening legal action against us. You know, Bricks and Minifigs, which is a pretty big company who probably has way more resources than we can, really put up a fight against.
So this channel with like around 77,000 subscribers, who doesn't even hold that much influence, right?
What
that much
the heck?
virality, would get threatened with legal action by this massive $400 million corporation because of what they were trying to do. They were trying to do a good deed here. But of course, I'm assuming if any of you watching right now, right, if you're trying to do a good deed and a $400 million company sends you a letter saying, "Hey, we're going to screw your life up," you'd probably back off too. But you know who wouldn't back off? The YouTuber by the name of Reckless Ben. He would find out about the situation back around 2025, and he would promise Brian that he would do everything he could to get his LEGO collection back because it was a very heartbreaking story.
Why does a YouTuber have to take care of this?
Ben would get involved in this drama. One of the first things that Reckless Ben would do would be very, very simple. He would just go to the store in Oregon. He would walk in and he would ask about the Star Wars Legos that belong to Brian. That's it.
I saw this
that he would get from the store
without the filter
would be very interesting, as if she was pre-programmed, as if she looked out for specific keywords, and once she heard them, things would escalate very quickly. Watch it for yourself.
Hi, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
It's pretty good. So basically my friend said that you guys have some of his Legos, I think, and he told me to come here and see if I could pick them up.
Who's your friend?
I think they're Brian's Legos. It's like a big Star Wars collection set, I think.
You could go ahead and leave now.
Really?
You could go ahead and leave now, or I will call the police.
That's so
I'm
vile.
not harassing you.
No, you are. Hi.
Dude, how insane is that? Like, what kind of reaction is that? Yeah, I'm here for my friend's Legos. Which ones? The Star Wars ones? Leave now or I will call the police for harassment. It's like, whoa, how did we get here? Chill. And she wasn't kidding. She would actually call the police, straight up saying she's being harassed. However, as the police were on their way, he would talk with her a bit more. She would deflect all this by saying, "Hey, this is a corporate matter. I'm not involved in this. I'm just the store manager." This was interesting because prior to this, Ben would actually go all the way to Utah to go to the Bricks and Minifigs HQ, and what he would hear from them was, "Hey, this is not our problem. This is the store's problem. Go talk to them." So essentially, Reckless Ben found himself in this never-ending loop. The store manager would tell him, "Hey, go to corporate," and corporate would tell him, "Go to the store." In other words, no one was taking accountability. Everything was just a deflection. But while Ben was waiting for the police to show up, things got even more interesting. The store manager would call the supposed new franchise owner of the store, and Ben would get an opportunity to speak with him for the first time. Here's how the conversation would go, and again, like many things during the saga, it would also escalate fairly quickly. Watch.
Are you the owner of the Bricks and Minifig store?
Yeah, why? What you got?
So basically, I just wanted to get some of the Legos back that you guys still have. I think I'm looking for the clone turbo tank.
Why do you think you would be entitled to our inventory?
Why would you be entitled to our inventory? What makes you think that you can access this highly classified information just because you claim that your friend owns Legos? But don't worry, they would talk more during this very productive conversation.
What's his? He owns the Legos.
Huh? He doesn't own the Legos.
Well, yeah, we have a contract. He does own them.
Literally in paper.
Are you stupid?
Josh, the police are showing up right now.
Are you stupid, bro? Are you an idiot? You must be some sort of dumbass if you think you can just come here and get your friend's Legos. Ben would shortly afterwards talk to the
This is
police
only the
officer
bottom
who
of
would
the
give him
barrel
a
with this.
trespassing order, which meant that if he ever stepped foot in the store ever again, he'd end up in handcuffs and in jail.
I mean, the tip of the
When I said
iceberg.
things escalated quickly, I wasn't exaggerating. This was his first visit at the store, and within less than 10 minutes, he could never enter it again, otherwise he'd be facing jail time. So what the hell just happened? But let's back up. Who was this person that Ben was talking to on the phone? Well, that would be Joshua Johnson. This guy would be owner number 1 of the store after Crystal had gotten, well, kicked out. We're gonna see way more of Joshua throughout this saga, so don't worry, you won't miss him. The other franchise owner involved here is Brandon Best, the guy who personally kicked Crystal out and assured her that don't worry, consignments are handled by corporate. Clearly not, as we just saw. These two became the new co-owners of this franchise after Crystal had left. But hey, Ben managed to reach the top of the food chain early on. When corporate was telling him, hey, this is the store's issue, he also got to talk to the CEO briefly. He would ask about the missing Legos and the CEO would deny their existence. Ben wouldn't believe him and say, hey, listen, are you lying to me right now? The CEO would say, no. Ben would want to
Why didn't he just
reemphasize,
take the
listen,
Legos
this the easy way
before
or
they
the
change
hard
of
way?"
ownership?
And by this point, Ammon, the CEO, wasn't interested in talking anymore. Thing is, though, I don't think he understood what the hard way meant with the guy who's called Reckless Ben. But he was going to find out. They were simply fooling no one. When you went on social media, you saw the store very proudly displaying the Star Wars set. Look at this community note. These items are stolen. Like, no one was fooled. And so Reckless Ben would get to work. The first thing he would do is disrupt the business. But he would do it in a way that keeps him out of legal trouble. This was about making them understand that he's here to stay, that he was serious. He would set up a table outside the business selling merch, and that merch would be pretty much calling the store scammers. When the manager would notice him out there, she'd think, oh hell yeah, this guy has a trespass notice. I can call the police and put him in jail. This is when Ben would go to hide somewhere and bring a friend of his dressed up the same exact way as him. His friend would also get a trespass notice, but no one would end up in jail. Now yes, one could call this vigilantism. Some would even maybe call it useless, maybe even illegal. It was definitely a gray area. But the logic here was to annoy them until they gave up and gave back the Legos. That was pretty much it. But Ben had already moved on to the second plan, and that would be befriending a store employee. He would jokingly invite her to a cult, and eventually they'd meet up after she was done with her shift. Here she'd reveal some interesting information about Brian. As far as she knew, or at least what she was told, Brian was given his leftover inventory. That was false. So the store manager and whoever she was working under were lying to her. This was important info because, as I had mentioned earlier, the consignment contract had a transfer of rights clause. Joshua and Brandon were meant to take on the responsibilities that Crystal had signed on to, but they weren't. And they even lied to the employee here that they had. So they were aware of it. So after finding out that even the employees were being lied to, Ben's new friend would give him Joshua's phone number. And this is when they would get to have a one-on-one conversation. They would call. Joshua would pretend to not know what kind of contract Ben is talking about, so Ben would actually send him the entire PDF through iMessage. Here's what Josh would have to say.
What contract is it? I didn't sign a contract. I didn't sign that agreement. I didn't agree to anything in that. In order for me to be under contract, I have to sign something.
Or you had to take it over from the previous owner, right?
No, that's not how the law works.
Yeah, it is.
It is?
So
if that's how the law works, then sue me for it.
You don't just want to give the Legos back? Like,
sue me. Let's go to court. I'm calling the police right now, and you guys are going to be arrested for harassment.
Do you feel threatened right now?
Yeah.
Joshua was feigning ignorance on purpose, and as you can see, he was taunting Ben to sue him. If Ben were to sue Joshua over some business contract, this would end up in civil court. The reason why Joshua wants this outcome is because he can use the company resources to financially bully Ben and anyone who dares to sue him by making the case as long as financially burdensome as possible. When Ben would tell Brian about this, Brian would say, yeah, I mean, I've been through this. I spoke with a couple of different attorneys and they told me the same thing. If you sue them, they will financially ruin you. So he gave up on the idea. But Ben wasn't called Reckless Ben for just no reason. He wasn't going to give up. And so instead of suing Bricks and Minifigs, he came up with a plan to have Bricks and Minifigs sue him instead. How would he do that? All right, listen, focus with me here. He would make a company called We Steal From Old People.
We Steal From Old People?
And he would actually get inspired by the way Bricks and Minifigs work, or at least what he's been told so far. He'd register 5 different franchises under his new company that belonged to his friends, and he would do exactly what he did before, becoming a nuisance. He'd set up tables outside of the store with different merch, calling them thieves. And he'd even bring out court papers that were already filled out so that they could just sue him immediately. When the police would show up to stop his friend from being able to sell this merch, his friend would use the same tactic Bricks and Minifigs have been using. Oh, actually, I'm a franchisee and I can't really do much. This is corporate's decision. Corporate in this case is Ben. And so they couldn't really charge anyone with anything. This was them pretty much baiting Bricks and Minifigs to think, okay, well, we can't stop these guys unless we sue them. And when you initiate a lawsuit like this, it costs a lot of money. This was bait. After this whole ordeal, Reckless Ben would be able to meet up with the CEO again. Ammon here is clearly pissed, saying, hey, listen, this harassment style you're conducting yourself in, you're disturbing business. This is not the right way to do things. And so Ben would explain to him, hey, listen, man, I'm just doing what you're doing. I have franchises registered in Oregon, and every time the police are sent with a problem, I just redirect them to another franchisee. And so this was Ammon's reaction once he understood what he was dealing with.
That you think you're being very clever and that you think that you can do all sorts of fun stuff this way, but
homie, you're a thief.
You have no business being here. So
well, we do have business. We have, like, you guys have a bunch of our Legos.
All right.
So look, I think it was finally starting to set in to the CEO just who he was dealing with here. But while yes, it is really funny, to Ben, this wasn't really leading anywhere. The CEO clearly knew what was going on and knew that he was being baited to sue, so he wasn't simply going to do that. And so we move on to the next plan, the raffle strategy. Raffles in the US have to follow a very specific set of rules. If you fail to abide by those rules,
this guy is wacky. I love him.
You face criminal court.
This guy is so wacky.
Well, listen, since these Star Wars sets are held in consignment, this means that Brian still owns them. They're his property. So if we put them up for a raffle that costs $1 to enter with random strangers, we can legally do that. And if we go to the store to get that Lego and the manager refuses to give it to us, well, that's criminal. Honestly, I'm not a lawyer, but this plan was actually very smart. Legally speaking, it holds up. And so when he went to the store to get the prize and the manager called the police like she always does, the officer talking to Ben actually took it seriously. He was like, wait, like, okay, well, shit, if you know, I saw the contract, it's in consignment, this is an illegal raffle, this is criminal, all right, cool, I'll look into this. Unfortunately though, one of the other officers would go up to that officer taking it seriously, would whisper something in his ear, and then all of a sudden, the entire demeanor would change. It seemed that these cops were corrupt and they had no interest in actually upholding the law. In fact, what was even crazier here is that this officer whispering things in that other guy's ear would end up taking control of the situation and tell Ben straight up, listen, give this up and we can all walk away. But if you keep going, you'll end up in jail.
First off, we do have the authority to do this raffle, so we are legally
done for the night.
No, it's actually required by you guys to investigate this, and it's not civil, it's criminal.
Just so we're talking in circles, right? Yep. No. Do you understand at least what he told you on the...
I don't know we're talking in circles. That's the first time we got falsifying a raffle.
Just answer my question, please. Do you understand what Officer Bevis explained to you? Kind of what's going to happen, what's going to be the next steps?
I think...
Nope. Yes, no?
No, I'm not understanding.
You don't understand? What part don't you understand?
Yeah, I was pretty confused on what they were going to arrest me for. I mean, the Fourth Amendment in our Constitution specifically states that the police can't arrest you if they don't have a reason. I keep asking them for a reason, but they can't tell me anything that I'm doing that's illegal. Well, I don't think we broke the law. I'm understanding. That part doesn't matter. Here, it's pretty black and white. Because right now, you guys said the law we broke is the falsifying the raffle.
So let's do this. Let's just call it. I want you to go from here, all right, guys?
Guys, we didn't break the law. That's your opinion. But we literally didn't. We're not falsifying anything. We have the contract. All right, guys, let's call it a day. let's just go our separate ways and forget any of this.
They're so wacky.
Yes, when you pay taxes and the taxes go to the police, this is what you hope for. You hope that they ignore the law and just tell you to leave. And that's exactly what was happening on camera. So even though this was the genius plan,
sometimes.
it would again fail. Ben was back to square one. So his next plan involved actually measuring the sign outside of the store that said buy, sell, trade and replacing it with steal, sell, trade.
Oh, look, it's Naoki.
His barely legal, slightly illegal antics. But as he was planning to do that, he would actually receive a call from Joshua. And this is where things would start to get pretty interesting.
Josh ended up giving me a call.
You
Professional.
guys keep coming to the stores, you park out front, you do fake raffles. You're threatening my business, you moron.
Josh seems pretty scared, and he should be. Eventually, I am going to end up solving all of the police corruption that's going on. And once that happens, Josh is no longer going to be in civil trouble. He's going to be in criminal trouble. It wasn't a fake raffle. It was a real lottery scheme, according to Oregon state law. And it actually is a Class B felony up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Yeah, the loophole he's been using this entire time, just hiding behind the fact that it's a civil case, isn't going to work for him much longer.
Well, let's not argue that. I don't want to
Admit it. Admit it.
To just say, hey, you're not a thief. You know what I mean? Definitions of whether it's stolen or not, I don't think, anyways, it's not stolen.
So look, it was clear. He was starting to crumble. No, there was no theft, guys. No, none of that. Let's not talk semantics here. Let's not talk specific words here. No crime actually occurred, all right? He finally understood what he was dealing with, and so he finally took them seriously.
If you think it's illegal, why don't you sue me? It's a civil matter. Tell Brian to put his money where his mouth is. Let's go to court.
Okay, you want to do double or nothing?
What are you talking about? Are you stupid?
If you're wrong, you pay us double. If I'm wrong, I pay you double.
Bro, are you dumb? You're obviously a kid. You don't know how this works.
I think you're scared. Double or nothing. Let's do it.
You're so dumb, bro.
I think you're scared.
I'm not scared.
Okay, let's do double or nothing.
I'm not doing double
If you
or nothing.
lose, you pay us $400,000. You're scared. You're a chicken. I'm calling you out. You're scared. I'm calling you out. You're too scared. You're scared.
Rage baiting.
Put your money where your mouth is.
This is really where he would realize, dude, oh no, this guy's crazy. Like, I cannot reason with Ben. Like, I my threats, they usually work, but not this time. And so watch him flip a 180 right now.
Are you just gonna be a pussy or are you gonna...
I'm putting my money where my mouth is. You put your money where your mouth is.
Double or nothing, maybe. Let it ride.
Okay.
When Brian first came in, we identified anything that was on that list that would have been his that Amanda didn't sell, and we set it aside. And it's still sitting there. We're happy to give you your stuff back. I just don't want any more damage to this.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, that was easy.
Admit
Turns out
it.
they had everything to begin with.
I'm happy to give you the inventory. It's only bringing me harm because you guys are doing wacky-do crap trying to attack us.
Well, it looks like we won.
Is this it? Catch those?
All right, well, wonderful. If anything, this proves to us that Joshua is a piece of shit, something that will only get worse throughout the video.
What I
But yeah,
said.
essentially, he had admitted that the inventory was there. They just chose to not give it back because they're assholes, and he was still choosing to hold it hostage because he had conditions to give those sets back.
Apology
to
written by Brian.
The first thing he wanted from
Remember
Brian
use.
was an apology, a written apology. What is this apology for? Well, it's because of a Facebook post that Brian had
my
made that
gosh.
got like 55 likes, where he called Bricks and Minifigs thieves. The second condition would be removing the bad reviews left on Google, and the third condition would be replacing them with good reviews. Now, Ben would have a problem with this whole written apology thing. He didn't want to give anything to Joshua that could be used in court if this were to go to court one day. So he asked Joshua if a video apology was good enough, and he said yes. And so then Ben's friend would apologize on video, and they'd use AI to put Brian's face on him, right? So that way, this video is inadmissible in court. This video would get sent to Joshua, and he would have no idea that it's AI. He'd be satisfied with it. But then he would throw on a fourth condition on top of everything he's already asked for.
AI was used. What? This is becoming like a... What is this anime? Like a case closed, Death Note. It's like using 5D chess moves to get people to like admit stuff. You say yeah for good.
I'm good. We gotta win Amanda over, right?
Uh-huh.
Apologize to Amanda.
Okay. I guess Brian's just a little worried that you guys are just going to keep postponing it until,
No, you're gonna get him. You're gonna get him. We're not gonna,
You're gonna get
I'm not
him.
gonna screw you.
So hi, adorable kitten. Thanks for chilling with us.
Uh-huh.
I promise you, I swear to God.
You have my word. I promise. I swear to God. A Mormon swearing to God. That must mean something in this day and age, right? Well, here was the problem. At this point, Reckless Ben thinks that this is a trap. This is because Amanda has shown absolutely zero will to cooperate. She's the one who called the police on Ben within like a minute of him walking into the store. So he thought that, hey, am I being set up here? Is Joshua trying to send me to the store? That way the police show up and arrest me for trespassing. Some might call this paranoid, but he had reason to believe this. In any case, he would go to the store because, well, this was the final step, apparently, before Brian could finally get his setback. And as you might have imagined, Amanda, the store manager, would call the police on him immediately. The funny thing is, though, the police wouldn't even show up. They got tired of these antics. They understood that this was getting very tricky, and that last altercation they had with them about the raffle, it was clear they were panicking. They wanted nothing to do with this anymore, so it simply didn't work. Thankfully, Reckless Ben and his friend didn't get in trouble, but Amanda was not budging. But hey, you know what? Everything worked out in the end because Joshua was satisfied.
Ben, how's it going? It's good. So we walked in, we were like, hey, we're sorry. We have permission to come back here and like apologize. And she's like, I'm calling the cops. And she like starts.
Josh now realizes that his last-ditch plan to get me arrested, well, that plan didn't work.
I'm sorry Amanda did that. Thank you for doing that.
It looks like Josh has no other choice than to give Brian his family's Legos back.
Yeah, baby.
It's up to them to accept. So
W.
Let's cross Amanda off that checklist. Let's get this done.
Wow, it worked out. You know what? Hey, maybe this has a happy ending, right? Well, no, it doesn't. Obviously, we're here, right? And the video isn't even halfway done, I'm pretty sure by now. Ben would go back to LA, and he'd be the one calling the store every single day to check if the Legos are ready for Brian to pick them up.
This is insane.
Brian's phone number is blocked at the Salem store in Oregon. The person replying to these phone calls would be Brandon Best, the second owner of that store. And every single day would be the same thing. It would be Brandon stalling. Like, yeah, you know, we're getting on it. We're almost done. We're getting there. We just, you know, had a small delay, etc., etc. And this would go on for many,
the store owners were like trying to negotiate still with these people.
No one would be replying to his phone calls anymore, almost as if his number also got blocked too. It seemed like Amanda not agreeing to make peace with Ben was truly affecting this, or that's at least what Ben thought. He would try his best to go back.
Why
and
does she
apologize
care?
To her, you know, sign a peace treaty with her, whatever. But every single time he would walk in the store and
Didn't
try
she
to talk
say,
to her, she would threaten
you
him.
cannot care this much about some pieces of Lego. She's like a store manager. She's not like the owner of this stuff. Like, it's all about items that were clearly stolen, that did not belong to this person because of the change of the shop. Like, there's so much involved in this. It just escalates more and more.
Harassment, for all sorts of things. Ben at this point really wanted this deal that he had established with Joshua to work. He wanted those Legos to be back in Brian's hands. So he would call him to try and find out what's going on. And this is when Joshua would again flip another 180 entirely and go back on his word and him swearing to God.
When we took over that store, there was nothing in that store. The shelves were empty. I don't know why you guys are thinking we're the bad guys.
So we just went from, yeah, you know what, I'll give Brian everything. I love the guy. Please just stop messing with my store to, guys, when we took over the store, it was empty, dude. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's like
they took everything out of the store?
Two different people. It's like this guy has a multi-personality disorder or something. Ben must have felt like he was in the Twilight Zone.
I'm wrong, but you can sue me for it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the long and the short of it.
So you know you're wrong. So you know that you stole the Legos then.
Let's go to court then.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, is that what you want?
Yeah.
You really want that?
They really want.
I would like to just get the Legos back, but if that's
no,
what
if
you want,
if he goes to court, like it's immediately cook. Like the bricks and minifig store. That's what they're trying to get him to do. Like, yes, please sue immediately. So creepy how adamant they don't want to give up the Legos. They just want to up and run. They've been doing that for a while
I'm giving
now.
you every out that I can.
Crazy. Rage baiting them into being sued. Perfect.
I just want to get the Legos back. They're Brian's Legos. Give them back. It's pretty easy.
Then you can f*** yourself.
Dang.
You stole them, bitch.
I stole the Legos?
Yes. He's so angry.
That's your f***ing choice.
This thing is a roller coaster, and we haven't even gotten to the assault rifles wielded by police officers raiding Ben's home. But just like many times throughout this journey so far, Reckless Ben found himself
They're going to raid Ben
again. He was faced with two choices. The first one is walking away. The second one is
the police
suing, needing hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawyer fees, and this lasting for maybe like around 2 or more years in court. None of these two choices sounded attractive whatsoever. And so this is when Ben would come up with his master plan, small claims court. Small claims court in the US is something that helps people resolve money disputes quickly and without the need for a lawyer. This is really something made for the average little man, one that is standing up to a bigger corporation but cannot afford a lawyer, and typically corporations in these cases will lose, as long as you have the proof, of course. The caveat, though, is that they only handle cases involving amounts under $10,000. But we're dealing with a collection here that's worth $200,000, and we're dealing with half of it, so $100,000. How the hell would you do that? Well, he would decide to sue the store 10 different times. He and his friends would take up credit card loans, $10,000 each.
Whoa, that's insane.
Brian, and since Brian still technically owns these sets through consignment, he had the ability to sell it to them. And since now they were the owners of Lego sets that had disappeared, they could each sue in small claims court for $10,000 each, amounting to $100,000 against bricks and minifigs. This was something that they held no hope in winning. And the cool thing about small claims court is that it's pretty fast too. It doesn't take 2 years. It takes way less than that. Now, if you're wondering how Ben and his friends would pay off these $10,000 credit card loans, which are at like 20+% interest, well, there's no sales tax in Oregon. So 10,000 is 10,000, right? And so Brian would just give them back the money as a loan, 0 interest loan. So this really was genius. Again, I'm not a lawyer here. A lawyer would probably facepalm and shit himself at the same time, but man, I mean, they just gamed the system. And as expected, because bricks and minifigs were in the wrong here, they would lose all these lawsuits. But don't celebrate yet, because guess what? The Salem store would, quote unquote, temporarily close. It would shut down.
What is happening here?
Since then, this was to avoid paying back anything in that small claims court. So Ben had somewhat won, but he had won too well. He managed to, well, destroy this franchise, but without getting his money back, which was in the end not really a win. As you'll see later in the video, this was a strategy that Ammon, as well as his good old friends, would employ all the time whenever they got into any trouble, closing and opening up companies so that they never have to suffer any consequences. But Ben wasn't simply going to stop here, okay? The store closed, but this was a victory, and he was going to let the world know. So he would print out this massive announcement and put it right at the store. The sign would say, permanently closed. We stole a family's life savings. They sued, we lost. By closing the store, we get out of having to pay the family what we owe them. Soon enough, this would go absolutely viral around the internet. And bear in mind,
what the hell?
Back in 2025. Reckless
That's a sign to put in your store.
We just talked about came out on May 21st, 2026. So people have been aware about this store for over a year now in certain circles. But this video would be the true catalyst that would spread it far and wide. Shocking as some of the events that occurred in this video were, it was nothing compared to what the second video would do to the internet, because there we didn't just deal with a shady company, we dealt with a shady police department.
They skipped the part where Ben got naked.
To unbelievable.
Yeah, there's so much context going on.
On May 21st, around the same day the first video would come out, Ben would also release part 2 on his Patreon. Seeing that many people were impressed with his very interesting and untraditional type of investigation technique,
this is like some
would support
drug cartel.
This video would be so shocking, such an escalation of what had occurred in the first video, that even though it was behind a paywall, it would practically leak everywhere, okay? The details would be visible to just about anyone following this story. So even though this video would only release on May 30th on his YouTube channel, people already knew, okay? This guy had an assault rifle pointed at him because of a Lego investigation. All right, so look, here was the situation. The small claims court hearing didn't work because the store closed down before they could pay them the damages. And so Ben would decide to take the fight directly to the franchise co-owners. So he would personally sue both Joshua Johnson and Brandon Best in small claims. However, in order to sue them this way, the court wanted to see a good faith effort from Ben to resolve the dispute before this lawsuit can go forward. So in other words, he had to prove to the court that he at least tried to resolve this with a conversation or something before actually bringing it to court. Which meant that now Ben had to travel to Utah because that's exactly
for the contract.
You think and Brandon lived. He was headed to Mormon territory, baby. However, before trying to make contact with both Brandon and Joshua, Ben would decide to pass by, just real quick, the HQ since he was in Utah now. Maybe have another conversation with the CEO, let him know what he was doing, give him updates, see if he wanted to resolve things peacefully still. But this time, the police would be called on him, and he would be told to leave the property immediately. All right, fine, no worries. Let's head to Joshua's house now. They'd go there and see him outside of his home on the phone. Most likely, right? We can.
They're stalking this guy at this point.
HQ was letting him know, hey, these guys, they're probably headed your way.
Investigating.
Before Ben could even initiate contact with Joshua, which is required for his lawsuit, he'd notice 2 different police cars headed his way. And no, he wasn't paranoid. These cars were here for him. They would stop the car under the pretext of them not stopping at a stop sign. Ben would later ask for the footage of this incident, right? To see, like, did they actually fail to stop at the stop sign? And no, it was bullshit. They actually did. So this was the beginning, right? The tip of the iceberg of the corrupt actions that the American Fork PD, this is the name of the police department involved,
2 different countries
against Ben.
2 different kinds of corruption.
After talking for a while, they would trespass everyone in the car. Okay, which meant
okay, pause. I have like 2 different questions about the situation. Oh my god, the pause was like right on time. Oh my god, folks, thanks for the sub. Thank you to the gift sub to the adorable kittens. Nice name, and thank you for hanging with us. Okay, there we go. Ah, thank you so much. So I have so many questions. Like, why? Okay, number one, why are the cops defending this store so bad? Is it because they look at the they look at the YouTubers and think, oh, it's kids, they're in the wrong, and then like, are they like being paid by like Bricks Minifigs? Like, what's the corruption here? Maybe they'll get answered in like just a bit, but holy shit, like they're so adamant to like defend this store. And then there's the other question is like right at the beginning, I wasn't sure, but here's something that I've been thinking about. Think about this scenario. Let's say that let's say you buy, I don't know, in this case it was a business, but let's say that you buy a house and then you were shown a house that had appliances. What if, well, you bought it because, you know, in the contract it said like, hey, you bought it with the appliances. And then you later learn that the appliances that were in there, such as like, I don't know, the fridge, the stove, the refrigerator, or the, you know, like the laundry machines, they were all like stolen. I'm like, yeah, I was sold it like this. Yeah, but on this contract it says that it belongs to this person. So did the previous owners of the Lego store, like, you know, they got kicked out? However, did the store get transferred with like the papers saying that it belongs to them? Apparently there was confirmation that it already said who these pieces of Legos belong to. But I wonder if somewhere in that same contract it said also that the Legos belong to the new owner instead of like the, you know, the new owner of the store, instead of like who they originally belonged to, which wasn't the previous Lego store. So it's just something that you think about in some certain scenarios. And, you know, place got new management. Place got report that stuff in the inside of there was actually like stolen. I mean, in this case, you know, it wasn't stolen. It was just a different property. I'm talking about like, you know, hey, you know, stuff inside of that place. What would happen? You would have to like deal with like the person who sold the place in the first place, because, you know, they were the one on the wrong. I wonder how big. Hey, yo, Rena. They seem like they were tipped off against the law. It's so sus. Yeah, I agree. Also, either the cops are being bribed or the cops are being tyrants to the law. Anyway, he still should have been able to go to small court, especially with the footage of the cops directly interfering with the contact basic. There's so much evidence of these cops just being like, hey, here's, because the YouTubers, like, they were being able to like, hey, we read everything on point. Why are you like behaving like this? Am I doing something actually legally wrong? No, we just want it to be wrong. All right, let me continue watching. Maybe that one of those questions will get answered.
That if they ever found themselves on or near Joshua's property, they were being arrested. Just keep in mind here, they hadn't even stepped foot on his house. They were already off to a great start. The next thing Ben would do would go, well, to the other co-owner, which was Brandon Best. And this time he'd actually answer and there would be no police cars waiting for him. However, even with Ben trying his best to communicate, Brandon would just remain nonverbal. He would just sit there looking in the distance and not saying a word. The police would show up later, of course. Now, what's really interesting to me here is that as Ben was speaking to one of the police officers, she'd be talking about Brandon as if she was very aware of who he is and of the situation he found himself in. Almost like she was defending him. Watch for yourself.
He didn't steal anything. He inherited the store from somebody else.
No, he stole $200,000 worth of...
Because
I've been spending the last 3 months in the case and I won in court.
He inherited the store. He's being blamed for everything that the previous owner did. And he's trying to...
Well, that's a lie. So we...
Okay, hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm sorry. Is this a police officer or is this his wife or sister or something? This sounds like a family member defending him in court.
They know so much about this already too.
Ben also
in a different
got
state
trespassed for Brandon's property. However, there was some good news. Since he actually went face to face with Brandon and Brandon refused to talk, he was able to upload this proof to the court, and this was enough. Yeah. This was enough to prove that he had tried to resolve this in a good faith conversation. However, he wasn't even able to talk face to face to Joshua, and so the roller coaster continued. So look, this is when Ben, who was probably naive to Mormons in Utah, would find out that actually both Brandon and Joshua were Mormons. This is something that Brian would point out, like, hey, by the way, like, They all just happen to be Mormons. And so Ben would get another brilliant idea. He's just full of them. He'd find the church, the Mormon church that Joshua goes to every week, and he would find someone that works there, most likely a missionary or something, someone who volunteers. And he'd tell him about the whole story, about how Joshua swore to God that he didn't steal anything or that he was going to give back what he stole.
That was on the video. He said, I swear to God that I didn't do this thing. And if they're part of like that business world,
all the chain of events that have led him here today.
I will, if you can't take down your enemy with the law, just take them apart brick by brick in a different way until they have nothing.
But what happened next is like something out of a weird drug-related crime series or something. I felt like I was watching Breaking Bad. The guy from the church that went to Joshua's house, Joshua wouldn't even speak to him. He wouldn't even open the door. He would call the police immediately. This was a Mormon on Mormon violence, and the police would tell this guy to leave the property. And as this was happening, Ben and his friends would get stopped by multiple police vehicles. The officers would conduct a full search of their vehicle and would have them wait outside. This would last for multiple hours, around 3 hours, as they also made them undergo a drug test. It seemed like there was no shortage to the intimidation tactics that both Joshua and Brandon were employing, and it also seemed like this police force was in their pockets. Fork PD was compromised. Even after passing the drug tests, the police wouldn't let them go until they told them where the drugs were, or whatever that means. After this incident, Ben would request body cam footage. Everyone can do that, okay? It's a public right. But much of it was redacted, much of it was cut, which was very suspicious. That's only done in extreme cases to protect
I agree, Natsuki.
Not during a routine drug
test. It
almost seemed like these officers had something to hide. Maybe the fact that this was an illegal stop and that they were illegally trying to pressure Ben and his friends to admit that they had drugs so that they can
some really good Legos.
So they can stop messing with Joshua and Brandon. In any case, this whole debacle would be described to the court by Ben, saying, hey, listen, I tried my best to talk to Joshua, but this happened.
America.
This also got approved. So now all that remained was serving the court papers to both Brandon and Joshua.
Their family? That's insane.
Ben would focus solely on Joshua. He was the one he was speaking to all this time after all, and he was the one who swore to him and then still lied to him. But how could he serve him court papers if he's trespassed off his property? Well, if you didn't understand yet, Ben had a way of coming up with some very creative ideas.
I love this Ben.
Brilliant idea of printing out the face
I
of
stole
Joshua
a dying man's
with an evil laugh, with the quote next to him saying, I stole a dying man's life savings. He would make it into a sign and put it right in front of Joshua's property, his house.
Oh,
on
no.
the adjacent street, right? Not directly on his property, on the adjacent street, on a small public lot. Okay, so he'd argue that he was doing this legally on a public lot and he was only expressing his First Amendment rights. In reality, this was being done to lure him out of his home so that he can serve him with his court papers. Now look, some of you might think this is vigilantism. Some of you might think this is a bit too over the top, crossing a line, hell, maybe even harassment. But here's the thing, if you're not American, then maybe you don't understand the significance of being served. You see, for a lawsuit to begin, you need to serve the person that you're suing. And this person, right, if they're smart enough, they can avoid you forever. You go to the registered address, oops, they're not there. You go to the place they work at, oops, they're not there. Effectively stalling justice for as long as they want to. Now, there are, of course, cases where you can serve by email.
I agree.
But you have to make the case to the judge, and the judge has to approve it. It's not given all the time, only in special cases. And so, many people choose to hire someone like a process server, an individual who specializes in delivering legal documents. Ben had a process server with him, and this idea of baiting someone in order to give them documents is actually quite normal, unfortunately, in the US legal system. In fact, let me give you an example that happened on a live stream. This involves a live streamer by the name of Scuffed Justin Carey, right? He was being sued by another streamer for both stalking and harassment. However, he'd always keep avoiding being served court documents. And so a process server would be hired, and just look at this. It's incredible how he managed to get him his papers served. Watch.
Are you SEC? What? Are you SEC? I am. Oh my god, you read this, I love this. What is this? You've been served. Oh, why? Wait.
This process server would find him through the live stream. He would stream snipe him, but it wouldn't end there, because then he would want to get his attention, be like, oh my god, is that you? Pretending to be a fan. Also that he can read the document right in front of him, and so then in court he could say, yes, your honor, this person was served. And if he doesn't show up to the court date, then hey, there's no excuses. The streamer
imagine just me over here like, hey Chad, have you done your duties today? Hold on, let me just drop a PNG on top of my VTuber. Bam! You read this, you saw this. Someone saw you looking at the screen. You watched Saint Cisco holding a paper that said you've been served. It's like yeah, every night at 8 p.m. EST, like this person watches Saint Cisco. If I go like this, you've been served. It's like, oh, they saw me. They saw me. I'm making a joke. But this is like, here's the evidence that they actually saw the damn paper. That's so amazing. Oh my God, is that you? Big fan. Dude, look at this.
And realizes, oh, fuck,
the
I just
cyber
got
homework.
served and
Perfect.
outs for the rest of this clip. So as I mentioned, Reckless Ben would be with his own process server. She's sitting in the car, and she was approving of this. This was legal, and yes, I'm sure process servers have endless stories at parties over how they served an individual, whether they dressed up as a delivery man, whether they faked having a heart attack. I don't know. It's a crazy world out there. And even though Ben would be there for a specific legal reason, you know, wanting to serve Joshua with documents, even though he had a process server with him, the cops would be called on him. Not once, not twice, not even 3 times. They'd be called on him for a total of 4 times within the span of like an hour. The first time he'd explain the situation, they would leave shortly after. The second time, another set of police would show up. They'd get explained the situation, they would also leave. But now here's the very important thing here. The third time the police would show up, they would say, you know what? You want to serve Joshua? Give me the documents, I'll serve him for you. Wonderful. A police officer can totally do this. Shortly afterwards, though, the police would come back to him, and here's what they would say, handing him back those papers.
Sure what this is. I've never seen something like that. To be honest with you.
These are court papers.
Okay. It doesn't have a judge's name or anything like that on it?
Because it hasn't gotten to the judge yet. So this is serving him, and then we'll go to the court, and then the judge will be there. So the judge.
Ben was explaining to the police how serving papers work, how a court case works. Isn't that incredible? The Fork PD Police Department had yet again broken the law here. Police can't simply refuse to serve someone papers, and that's exactly what happened. When Joshua would ask of body cam footage of this officer, like what exactly he did with these papers, it would of course also be redacted, as if it was protecting him and hiding his actions. But the police genuinely—
What? So they edited the body cam, basically? Also, the last make it following them annoying. So you gotta think about creativity. Why are they defending these people so hard? Why? Thanks for the hydrate. Why? I am just flabbergasted. Like, are they really like family? Like Rina said? That's illegal to edit the cam. Not only that, but like they knew that they were being recorded, and then the officer started saying very specific words to the recording. Like, I've never seen these papers. Here's a claim. I've never seen these papers. Do you see this camera? I've never seen these.
They had no excuse, okay? The fourth time they would show up to talk to Ben, they would take these papers and then would actually call the court directly
oh my God,
to
that's
verify
okay.
its authenticity. And guess what would happen? The court would say, yes, that's actually a case. This is on body cam. This wasn't even redacted.
Thank you for holding. How can I help you?
Trying to speak with someone to verify if a case is, just verify if a case is real.
Yeah, looks like a real small claims case in our court.
Okay, thank you for your help.
Insane.
Thank you.
So when the police officer was handed these documents, he'd say, I've never seen something like this before. I think you're lying to me. They're fake. They would then verify that they're real. At this point, there are no excuses. What does Fork PD decide to do here? Do they decide to finally do the right thing because there's no way out of this? No. They would unironically just decide to arrest Ben. I'm not even joking. After this call, after verifying the authenticity of
Are they
this
making
court
it
case, they would put him in
worse?
handcuffs and arrest him. No reason given. Let's go. You know what's really funny too? When you
How
get
do you feel about this
arrested,
so
you're
far?
meant to
It's
be read.
insane how I feel about this. Oh my God. Now I know. This is just escalating to like, it went from like, oh, perhaps there's a mistake. Then my friend's Legos are somewhere else. Let's get, it's like, no, we stole them. And then it's like the authorities. And then it became like part of the church because, the man swore under oath to God that he made no mistake. And it's like, wait, what? It's such a rabbit hole. It's like, it's just escalating. This is like a GTA rock in the road to gone wrong. Look, I threw a rock on the road and then the rock got tripped over by a guy and then the guy started fighting me, but the guy actually hit a cop and then the cop got hit by a car in the middle of the road and then a helicopter came in crashing. It's like, I just wanted to throw a rock on the road. Why is it like escalating like this? This is like a regular show bit. All that's missing, it's like seen, I don't know, a demonic floating head just started shooting lasers that turns people into radios and Lego bricks, and so it goes out the black hole. Ben hasn't done anything wrong. The guy he's going against has too much money and robbed the dignity from the police. What the heck? No, that's so real. This feels like a regular show episode. It smells like paid off cop. I'm glad everybody agrees.
Miranda writes, like, hey, you have the right to remain silent, whatever. He wouldn't even
I don't even think they're being paid off. I think they just hate this guy. They just look at this. Oh, look at the young kid YouTuber. I got a YouTuber. Derogatory YouTuber.
He'd end up in jail without even having.
I would never say about the YouTuber.
Without even knowing why. The mafia in New York back in the 1950s was less corrupt than this, and that's saying something. When Brian would find out about this, he would tell Ben that he had a theory. Brandon and Josh, as well as Ammon, they were all Mormon, and they donated millions of dollars to the Mormon Church, right? The good old 10% tithe.
It's nepotism
all
thing.
The officers involved in the Fork PD station were also Mormon, and they all knew each other. It's a small world in Utah. All of a sudden, this very stupid ass Lego drama had become a very far reaching conspiracy of massive corruption undergoing here. So like after Ben would be released from jail, he would yet again find himself at square one, something that he had done multiple times already. But this time, seeing just how corrupt the police force was, he would somewhat feel helpless a little bit over the idea of getting the Legos back. That's when he would decide to start a GoFundMe to recuperate the money instead, because these
the
Legos,
church is corrupt too. I wouldn't doubt it.
But in typical Ben fashion, he wanted to advertise this GoFundMe. He wanted to get the most amount of money for Brian. So what did he decide to do? He decided to print this image again of Joshua laughing his ass off at stealing money from an old man to place it next to Joshua's home. This would serve as publicity. And of course, as you might expect, the police would yet again be called. What was interesting here, though, was that out of the two police officers, one of them would agree that what was being done here was legal, and the other one wouldn't. So there was a disagreement even between police officers. Much of the body cam footage in this incident was also redacted. But Ben would find
the files have complained that upset.
Watch this clip.
There's audio, so when you sync the two clips together, I can actually hear what they're saying here.
He sees it or give it back? Is it an occasion of crime? Is it disorderly conduct? Why? Is he upset about it? I mean, I guess, but that's not.
Yeah, this police officer is right. Just because this might make Josh upset does not make this poster illegal.
So this finally gave us some sort of an understanding about what was going on here. Oh, is it making Joshua upset?
Hug it and kiss it out.
Let's find a crime to pin on these guys to make them stop. What is it, disorderly conduct or something? It was incredible to just see this in a clip like this. This wasn't even redacted. It's both surprising.
They were trying to make up a crime
goes, but also it makes you think,
put them down.
If this wasn't redacted, what are they redacting?
Like planting drugs.
Is the footage that's being redacted then? But hey,
they said something earlier about drugs too. They did try.
One of the police officers would ask Ben's friend, "Hey, hand me your phone." And
they even tried like searching the car for like a lot of hours. It was not only was it just trying to implement drugs, it was also stalling to get them tired to leave.
When his friend would lock the phone before giving it, he'd get arrested for such a dumb reason, tampering with evidence. The guy was just locking his phone, not destroying it. So now his friend was being sent to jail. No Miranda rights read to him, no reason given. It was ridiculous at this point. But this was actually nothing compared to what was going to happen next. You see, Ben wasn't from Utah. I think that's pretty obvious. None of his friends were. But when they arrived here, they had rented an Airbnb while they tried to serve Joshua and get on with this lawsuit to get the Legos back or to get the money back. So after setting up the GoFundMe and having that altercation with the police over the sign that they had put up on the fence, they would get back to the Airbnb and chill. And while they were chilling, they were completely oblivious to the fact that the Fork PD Police Department was about to initiate a raid on them with straight up assault rifles. I mean, look at this. They just straight up went in there with pistols, assault rifles, as if they were doing some sort of a drug bust on the cartel or something. They would drag them out, and Ben's shoulder would get dislocated right here with such force when there was no resistance whatsoever. This reminded Ben of the conversation he had with Joshua back in the first video. How Joshua was saying, yeah, I'll pin this all on you. I'll make you the thief. You stole the Legos. Because guess what? This search warrant that made them go with assault rifles and pistols and made them handcuff everyone outside of the house, treating them like criminals, was for stolen Legos. They were alleging that Ben and his friends had over $200,000 in stolen Legos with them. Absolute
It's
bullshit.
the other way
Nothing
around.
more than another attempt at an intimidation tactic to make them back off, just like with the whole drug stop thing. But it wouldn't just stop there. Every single one of Ben's friends, including himself, would be arrested. They'd be put in the police car.
Oh, I'm learning
and
about this,
sent
Bushido.
to jail.
My first
Every
time hearing
single
this.
one of them was sent to a jail cell, and Ben was questioned. Like, seriously, like, what is this? It turns out the Mormon Mafia was not a conspiracy theory by any means. They'd interrogate Ben until they found out about the GoFundMe, and then they would start questioning all his friends, asking them, was this Ben's idea? This is what they wanted. They wanted to pin the GoFundMe on Ben and use that as some sort of reason to keep him in jail, which they fully intended
Like
to do.
embezzlement?
Within a day,
No,
they would
that's
release all his friends.
Like a lot of GoFundMe stuff is like voluntary. Unless it's like a scam, that's clearly. Are they trying to pin it like no, there's no reason for that.
But they would keep Ben in jail. He was meant to stay there for 30 days, no bail, until he could face a court case alleging stalking and harassment towards Joshua.
My gosh.
Again, I wish I was making this up. I wish this was a joke, but no, this actually happened. But Ben would get extremely lucky because the judge presiding over the case would think, wait,
it's a ride.
No bail.
It's been a ride the entire time.
Bail set at $2,500. Now look, at this point, Ben would be released from jail. Okay. After having had assault rifles pointed to his face and a dislocated shoulder, yeah, he'd be a free man. But one day later,
dislocated shoulder too. Out of this,
gets worse. One day later, the police would post a warrant.
Please tell me, someone tell me. I mean, maybe you don't want to spoil it, but someone tell me that they managed to they managed to I don't know, sue the police somehow because he got hurt. He got legitimately hurt right there, and not only like physical but also like emotional. Like you don't go to a person and then say what was even like the first search in the first place? Because they said it was all because of money, and then they're afraid that they would be like, what? Yo, Mass, thank you for the raid. Thank you, Mass, for making the city last but like we're in the middle of a reaction video, so sit down, relax, and I'll be right here with you. Oh my god! So welcome to the Raiders. Welcome, you've been served. You can almost never sue the police. It's insane that you can't. It's like there's like little why. It's oh my gosh. They're trying to pin Ben for embezzlement and fraud. Yeah, I saw that, Natsuki. That's I just stated that too. But holy crap of the Legos. I'm gonna keep saying this. In fact, current state, they are in Mexico. Wait, it escalates all the way down to Mexico? What the fuck is this? Breaking Bad?
For Ben's arrest.
Let me see.
A friend of his would call the Utah Police Department, the PD Police Department, and ask about this, and they'd say that this time the judge approved a no bail jail term because the court had somehow found out that he was a threat to the physical safety of a protected person. So in this case, we're talking about Joshua. And when it came to the court case itself, he was facing up to a maximum of 5 years in jail.
A threat to a protected person.
Stalking?
Dude, what reputation and money can give you? The motherfucker just wanted to buy a second-handed Lego store that was helping a dude sell his collection, and then he got into all of this, but then because of his own like nepotism and oh my god, the bias is so fucking strong against these people. Even if they commit a crime, it's like, no, we know this person. We're gonna protect them as much as possible. It's like you cannot be that worth it. You cannot be that worth it. That's some seriously wicked, sick shit. The justice system has completely failed. Shit like this, it's all for Legos. It's like, god damn. Ben fled the country to avoid persecution. There's no shot, really. I gotta see more. Hold on.
A misdemeanor, which means it's right under a felony, and targeted residential picketing, a Class B misdemeanor. So knowing that there was a warrant out for his arrest and knowing that he had no bail if he got arrested,
so apparently count 1 stalking misdemeanor is a small one. Count 2 targeted residential picketing. So those are like just a small stuff.
Jail for
but still, like they're trying to like
up until this court date. Ben fled to Mexico. Dude, seriously, I wish I was making this up. This was all over Legos. This was genuinely all over Legos. Can we just remember how we started?
I see.
This dude was being treated like he was part of the cartel, selling kilograms of cocaine or something. Do you now understand why this went viral? He got assault rifles pointed at him for Legos. He's facing over 5 years of jail time in a no bail situation over Legos. This was a guy trying to take someone to small claims court, something made for the small, lower middle class guy who wants to go up against a corporation, and this was the treatment he was receiving by a police department. Yeah, no wonder everyone's making videos about this, including myself. This is something that should be spread far and wide. This is unacceptable.
It's already like clear as day. They literally admitted that it doesn't even belong to them. Kilograms of illegal Legos. It just shows how much corruption the town goes. Oh my gosh. It rumored because the company donated a large amount of money. There's so much BS to this case. And there's so much evidence against it too. But they're still gonna try a way to protect them somehow. It's scary. It's scary.
Dictatorships with more fair laws and police departments than this. Like, are you kidding me? And so, with so much awareness being raised about this, with everyone talking about this, the outrage was palpable. And accountability was at the top of the priority list for anyone involved.
Unexpected twist, the most critical, Ludwig,
the
law by Mike.
Consequences started to come in.
I wonder if Legal Eagle has been on this too.
When it came to Bricks and Minifigs and what they had done leading up to this point. It would be unprecedented, with even the police having to make a statement. Look, Bricks and Minifigs were now completely fair game to the entire internet, and so people did some digging. It would turn out that scamming and legal threats were, at this point, in Bricks and Minifigs' DNA. There's this one YouTuber by the name of MGS Brick, and in 2025,
it's free real estate
Minifigs store with a $1,000 Star Wars Lego figurine. Now, this was distinctly different from another figurine that looks fairly similar that's worth $100, but the main difference is what's on the print, and anyone practically would know that if they were into Legos. When he'd go to the store, he'd be told that his figurine is fake. The employee he spoke to that he was trying to sell this to essentially was telling him, yeah, this is fake, trying to undermine how much it actually costs. Now, interestingly enough, at first, he'd be reached out to by corporate, but they wouldn't threaten to sue him or anything. No, they'd say, listen, I want to acknowledge that what happened is not normal. This shouldn't have happened. And the person who wrote this email was Matt McNeff. Yes, Eamon McNeff's brother. But when MGS Brick signaled interest in collabing with Reckless Ben, Bricks and Minifigs would take notice and would send a completely
all these are Legos.
In it, they'd say, you're receiving this email directly because it has been brought to our attention that through MGS Bricks, you have communicated with Reckless Ben about potentially creating peak content involving Bricks and Minifigs and the situation he has been publicizing. Please consider this email to you a formal notice not to involve yourself, your platform, your audience, etc., 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 in any coordinated activity involving Reckless Ben, his associates, or any claims he's making against Bricks and Minifigs. So this was them continuing on with their strategy that they've always employed: intimidation and using the law to bully people from ever being able to speak out against them. And
this company is also really bad in
another
general.
Franchise owner who had something very similar happen to him in comparison to Crystal. He would express wanting to sell his store, right? He wanted to move on and do something else. He's just like Crystal, visited by Brandon Best. Now this ex-owner is thinking to himself, okay, well, I got to do inventory and see how much it's worth and sell it to you guys. And Brandon seemed to be on board. He's like, yeah, sure. I mean, that's part of the contract. It's part of the agreement. But I can't agree to anything until you receive a letter from legal. And so the next day, this ex-owner would receive this letter, and it would pretty much say, because you owe us rent and fees, and because you've broken the franchisee agreement, you owe us a fine of $70,000, which coincidentally was almost the exact value of his inventory of Legos in the store. He, of course, would deny the fact that he had breached the agreement in any way, shape, or form, but this really showed us how they operated. This was the Mormon Mafia fully at play right before our very eyes. And it wasn't just limited to adults either. Someone would post on Reddit how back in 2023, when they were 15, Bricks and Minifigs threatened to sue him. More specifically, suing him because someone else opened a store. It was based on a non-compete clause, even though this dude was a minor. I mean, he hadn't signed a non-compete clause or anything like that. And he wasn't even the one who opened the store. It was obvious that Bricks and Minifigs held zero respect to the law, zero respect to anyone but themselves, and have been getting away with it for years. At the same time, though, they were also banking on the fact that even with Reckless Ben's antics, they were also going to get away with it too. On May 28th, Reckless Ben would upload the video titled, I Got Bricks and Minifigs Leaked Email. And this was an email sent to all franchisees from corporate. It was not meant to be public. And in it, they would claim that they were being deliberately targeted by multiple content creators, framing themselves as the victims. They would also claim that they weren't going to be defensive anymore, they were going to be offensive, saying that they were taking aggressive action behind the scenes towards anyone involved in this trying to ruin their name. They'd share records with local police, Oregon State Police, the FBI, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. They also claim that they're preparing a temporary restraining order on Ben with cease and desists all over his content to come. And what really shows us that there was no self-awareness whatsoever from corporate, they would claim that this is just a phase. They'd outline how the biggest issue with internet drama takes 2 to 3 days, and then in the coming weeks, it quickly dissipates.
Oh no, baby. Oh no. You fuck with the internet. This already, like, it's escalating to, like, forget about Ben. He's not your enemy anymore at this point. You got the entire just internet making videos about you. This is not going to be the only one who's going to be after your ass. The moment you poke this nest this hard, the entire swarm of bees and some absolute out of their shit, and I'm going to say the R word, some crazy retard is going to take extreme measures. I'm talking like someone is probably going to do like raids, or someone's going to be stalking even farther beyond what this one single YouTuber has been able to do. They're going to take it farther because, you know, once someone sees an opportunity for clout and content, they're going to be like, yep, it's my turn, shine. I have no morals. I don't care if I go to jail tomorrow. I will be the one who's going to dumpster dive. I'm going to be in there. I'm going to record everything from this person. It's like, damn. Some already have Charlie covered. It's, yo, no, shut up. That's crazy. Okay, so has anyone done anything? Okay, maybe Mojing is going to talk about it. So maybe someone has gone beyond what Ben has done already. Like, now that it's like, it's not alone. Like, Ben can chill. Like, you know, it's like, he was like the front, he was like the front leader. He was like the main DPS. But once the main DPS like infiltrated like the castle, like now everybody can like just like the support. And the other like attackers can now start attacking. Like, your job here is done, Tuxedo Best style. Someone's gonna do what they're claiming Reckless Ben is doing. Yeah, they were actually thinking like that's what they were doing. No, they're actually gonna do it. It's like, no. And is it gonna be for money? Is it gonna be in behalf of the old man whose Legos are stolen? No, it's gonna be completely just for their own, you know, for my own selfish desire to get you to admit that you're a piece of shit and then the law is corrupt. Literally just for that, honestly. They're gonna go that hard. You were poking the nest extremely hard with these stupid claims.
But they seem to be completely oblivious over the fact that Reckless Ben is not gonna just let this die, though. He's planning to release multiple videos in the coming weeks.
There's like podcasters, like even like the regular demographic in the news is like picking this shit up.
Email was nothing more than an attempt at damage control from Bricks and Minifigs Corporate. Additionally, on the same day, what they would publicly release would be a blog post titled Response to Customer Inquiries Regarding Bricks and Minifigs Salem, Oregon, Clarity and Resolution of an Isolated and Former Franchisee's Private
Natsuki.
So already in the title, they would want to make this seem like this was isolated to the franchisee, that corporate and the name of the brand, everything involving it had nothing to do with this. In fact, when we scroll down and we see what is false here, what they claim is false, it would be the most pathetic attempts at deflection I've ever seen. First, they say that they acknowledge that Brandon Best said, hey, the new owner would take all that consignment liability when the store ownerships changed hands from Crystal. But then they say, oh yeah, I mean, you know, he said that, but he wasn't committing in any way the company to any agreement, okay? Our approach from the start has been simple. Any inventory that doesn't belong to us should go back to its rightful owner. Okay, then where are Brian's Legos? They would then deny the fact that they stole the collection.
Send back the Legos!
More interestingly, would say, hey, the collection was not worth $200,000, all right? It was somewhere in the range of $60,000 to $80,000. That's funny and very convenient, especially seeing that there were multiple social media posts of Bricks and Minifigs Salem store claiming that this was over $200,000. They would also claim that they had never received records and documentation, even though we saw in Ben's video he had sent Joshua the actual consignment contract. And finally, they'd also claim that the store did not close due to the lawsuits made by Ben, but because their staff, including local teenagers, faced severe real-world safety hazards, stalking, and bomb threats.
Now, ooh, now see, Ben was not the problem anymore at that point. Other people will see like, yep, this place is corrupted. Let's all do something absolutely wicked. The claims that we're saying towards Ben, it's like now it's going real. You don't just make shit about someone else like that. Someone will make it worse.
Of course, these things are very unfortunate and should never
just out of pettiness, just out of spite.
But of course, the timing does seem very coincidental. Almost
and also, they keep acknowledging the collection.
The safety of their staff. In any case, this would be the start of damage control, okay? This idea they were coping with, the fact that this was only going to last for a small duration of time and everything's going to go back the same way it was before, was just not happening. At some point, the CEO, Ammon McNeff himself, would get on a live stream on the channel ACOB to answer some questions, some concerns. This would be streamed on May 30th, 2026, and to be honest with you, it was really just a regurgitation of what we just saw in the blog post. Denying the fact that they ever stole anything, denying involvement, denying responsibility, denying accountability. Here's a small clip of him talking, and I mean, you know, just listening to him for a minute is good enough to understand what he was there for.
My name is Ammon McNeff. And you'll forgive me, you know, I am reading this so that the statement can be clear and concise, but I'm CEO of Bricks and Minifix. And I want to speak directly, not through a blog post, not through an email, just directly to anyone following what's happened in Salem, Oregon. To the Mansell family, I am sorry that you are in this position. A family that loved Lego and trusted someone with their collection deserves better than what happened. That has always been our position, and it has not changed. Here is where we stand today. We want to hear from you directly. We want to help facilitate a resolution of this through the proper channels, and that has not changed. We are willing to sit down with you with a professional mediator, one you're comfortable with, bring the consignment agreement you and the previous owner of the Salem, Oregon store created, bring your inventory list, bring whatever documentation you have, and we're not asking for perfection, we're asking for cooperation. We will bring everything we have too, and we will go through it together. We want to see this resolved. Brian, that's it. That's the offer. A mediator, a table, documentation, and a genuine effort to get your family to a fair place. No cameras, no stunts, no manufactured drama, just a real conversation.
So this was the first half of this little clip, and I mean, the only thing going through my head is, took you long enough. I mean, it's about time. Like, it only took the destruction of the reputation of your entire company for you to do this, but I mean, about time.
All
right?
the
Better
money
late than
wasted.
never, right? This was the only thing that Brian,
people being
and Ben,
ridiculed,
and everyone who fought for this wanted to begin with. This CEO was given the opportunity in the beginning of Ben's video when they spoke one-on-one to do it the easy way. He chose the hard way, and here we are now. He has to read a statement in front of everyone like a robot. The second half of this clip would be talking about how certain stores that are under the Bricks and Minifigs brand have been targets of harassment, sometimes even violence. And yes, of course that sucks. That's terrible, but no one else is to blame than the CEO, Joshua, and Brandon, anyone involved in corporate, and the fact that Brian has been in a constant state of anxiety.
Did Lego responded
for the last 2 years. So cool offer, man.
Oh, I want to see that.
Would it have been really that hard to do it way earlier? But the thing is, this wasn't just about Bricks and Minifigs anymore. This was also about the extremely corrupt and disgusting American Fork Police Department. They were now in the crossfire. How come you guys are protecting Joshua so much like he's your mob boss? How come there's a warrant for Ben's arrest with no bail for something so stupid? He was only trying to serve
drug
Joshua
allegations, false.
I mean, how come you pointed assault rifles at people for stolen Legos? On May 29th, American Fork PD would release a statement in which they deny all accusations. And then the next day, on May 30th, they would release a 26-minute video in which the chief of police of the American Fork Police Department makes a statement about this. Now, I want to preface this by saying this is probably one of the worst videos I've ever watched in my life when it comes to audio quality. Listen for yourself for a few seconds.
Oh, I have a guilty pleasure for like watching lately like cop videos saying the absolute like dumbest shit. Nothing against the cop or anything like that, but there's been a couple of them. Remember the whole lemon pound cake thing? That one guy who said like, oh, this guy, like, you know, I can tell you that he may have possibly fucked my wife. It's like, oh wait, but did he actually? Maybe. It's like, what? Excuse me. It's like, the Afroman case is gold example of like cops trying to get away with like absolute dumb shit. It's like, why would you like put your own integrity and your, you know, everything you're supposed to defend against it, like the honor and truth and all the justice. Like, why? That's insane. He challenged the church money, the body cam videos, and yeah, there's a lot that he challenged with Shido. Lego apparently has told the official Lego content creators to stop doing work with Bricks and Minifigs, and to send any contracts they signed to them to review, offering to pay any fines that might have happened to breach of contract. Yo, if that's true, W Lego, I know they're trying to do like quality control on like their brand for like their collector's value. But if Lego was smarter, Lego would like do a little bit more than just an ad. There's a little bit more in stakes in here. They should actually send everybody here who has been watching these videos at least a little pack of like little minifigures. I'm kidding. Where's my free pack of Lego figures?
Guy is doing an ASMR statement. There are a few interesting
can you speak
bits
a little
here
louder?
in the statement, other than him just denying pretty much every accusation towards
I thought it was
his very
me.
corrupt and
It's the guy's
disgusting
video.
police department. He'd claim that this raid that happened on the Airbnb with assault rifles and pistols was done because the Airbnb owner was the person that confirmed to the police that Ben and his friends stole Legos, which eventually led to the approval of the search warrant. Now, of course, the internet being the internet.
What? Why would the Airbnb person even talk about that? They don't care. They do not care.
That they'd find out who the Airbnb owner is, and it turns out that, well, yes, he is a Mormon elementary school principal that is based in Utah. What's really interesting here, though, is like, how does the Airbnb owner even know that there are Legos in his own place when there are guests there? We'll find that out somewhat later. But for the time being, even with this knowledge in mind.
Oh, this is putting like a huge bad reputation in like Mormons too. That's insane. Fun fact chat. I got baptized in a Mormon church. Back in the days of Puerto Rico, when my grandma was part of that church for a short period of time because she had a space. She kind of forced all of us, because we were living under that ceiling, to be like, yeah, you all gotta do this because, you know, the Mormons are nice. And it's like, oh, okay. So I wore a fucking dress and I got baptized in a disgusting moldy pool. And I'm baptized by these people by force. They brainwash you. I went to school there and it's like, no, not everybody was, some people were chill, but like some of the faculty, like they looked like robots. Some moldy water in a pool. It was so shoddy. I'll show that later. I hate the fact that these cops can't be honest with the fact that they're corrupt and they're just making excuses to cover it up. There was literally, Natsuki, there was literally like a video cam going like, why do we like pin them on right now? It's like, I'd say it was moldy. But yeah, I was doing the VTuber meta before it even existed.
And it was still a very disproportionate reaction. Why do you need assault rifles for stolen Legos? That is just pure intimidation. Especially when those Legos weren't there, when it was a bogus search warrant. Now, Ben would make a video titled My Response to the Police, responding to this statement, and in it he'd claim, well, listen, the entire body cam footage of you raiding the Airbnb was redacted. They were clearly hiding something, and the whole thing was very fishy. Now, here's something that's pretty funny. The chief of police would claim that Ben was lying about his dislocated shoulder. Why? Well, because in the video, when he was talking about having his shoulder dislocated, Ben would add an image of an x-ray of a shoulder being actually dislocated, right? But this is a left shoulder, and the shoulder in question that's being dislocated right now on video is the right shoulder of Ben. In his response, Ben would explain that, yes, this is not my shoulder. This was a stock
This man has
image.
been to war.
My shoulder was actually dislocated. I know what that feels like. Like, what are you trying to do here? But
I dislocated my shoulder. I know how that feels like. It hurts like crazy.
Justifying the actions of his officers, even though we know that it's most likely corruption. He justified the stop sign search, even though they stopped at the stop sign. He would reveal to us that Joshua was actually planning to shoot Ben for harassment. He would say this on the phone, I'm about to shoot this guy, which is why the police intervened. But somehow, Joshua, with his intent of murder, did not get into any trouble. But what's really interesting, I find probably the most interesting thing in this whole statement from the chief of police, was that he'd claim that Ben got arrested because they found out that he had already served Joshua with papers on March 10th, and that he was only there to harass him for content. But in the body cam footage that was not redacted, we can see the officer asking the court, yo, what's the status of this case? And he would confirm with the person on the phone that the other person in this, Joshua, was yet to be served. This was done as Ben was waiting in the car.
Serve the man!
Okay, so the defendant needs to be served with papers before the case will, I guess, start?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your help.
Dude, come on, like, seriously, like, man, I really try to be objective, you know, but like, even objectively, this is ridiculous. The cop right here just confirmed Joshua is yet to be served. What do you mean he already served? What do you mean this is why we arrested him? Like, come on. But of course, this guy was still yapping. I mean, he was just still talking as if there was no accountability at all at the American Fork Police Department. Because then he would say, oh yeah, by the way, the arrest warrant is justified because Ben is a stalker. You know, it's funny. If you're being stalked or know someone who's stalked, I would love to hear one example of the police taking it this seriously. Because usually the police in the entirety of the United States, if you have a stalker, they would tell you we can't do anything until he hurts you. And here, this guy literally did nothing. He was just trying to serve him papers. And look at how he's being treated with an arrest warrant with no bail, facing 5 years in jail. Incredible. And there'd be some other funny bits in this too, like how the police searched them for heroin, right? The drug search, because they thought the driver's pupils looked weird, and how they arrested his other friend for trying to delete evidence when all he did was lock his phone. So they were doubling down on that. Look, overall, you don't even need to hear my opinion about this. Look at the like to dislike ratio. I have never seen such a ridiculous ratio on YouTube in such a long time.
Let us think.
I mean, seriously. 936 likes, 47,000 dislikes. No one was buying this. This statement was horrendous. And speaking of horrendous, in the description of this video, you'd see the following is a link to all body cam footage and police reports related to the incidents referenced in this video. Now, what they were trying to do is link you all the body cam footage that was redacted, right? That was censored. The ones that were sent to Ben as he was making his videos. But in American Fork Police Department fashion, they would absolutely fuck it up. They would release the body cam footage, yes, but none of it would be redacted. This was the raw recording of everything that had happened throughout the entirety of this case. At first, people thought that this was some sort of leak. Hell, even Reckless Ben released some of the footage on his channel and titled the video, "Someone Hacked the Police Department." But no, there was no hack involved. There was nothing like that. It would be a major crime if it was. In reality, the American Fork Police Department would make a statement on their Facebook page and would admit they were the ones who released the unredacted files by mistake. Now, look, it could have been someone on the team that wanted the right thing to happen and did this because they thought the corruption was through the roof, or it could have been incompetence.
We were trying to hide a mistake. I mean, be honest this time.
Personally, I think it was incompetence. There's this one YouTube channel called Bam Sucks that uploaded every single bit of unredacted footage and even went as far as to upload everything on the
God
Internet
bless
Archive as well,
Archiver.
just in case his YouTube channel gets taken down, which is completely possible. This footage right
Tee-hee,
here
oopsie.
is extremely important because it shows what many have
Facepalm.
already been thinking. The fact that this police department is corrupt to the core. But as you can see, there are hours upon hours of footage here, so we're going to focus on the juicy bits, the ones involving Joshua. So there are some notable things here, you know, a lot of self-incriminating statements, a lot of, well, blatant corruption. One of the
Someone's
first
doing
instances where they're
timestamps and
talking to
everything.
him, he'd be asking the cops,
There's literally
"Hey, you know,
evidence
would this
there.
be a crime you guys
Everything
can
is
charge him
admitted.
with?" Like, does that work?
Harass them. So they're getting them on, I don't know what they're doing, but some kind of interruption.
They have a mega link. A mega link sharing all this.
Does that sound like a crime? I don't know. You tell me, man. You're the officer. Here he tries to guilt trip a cop into helping him by using the example of his wife.
Would you be comfortable with this guy coming to your house and bugging your wife? Would you like that? No, I wouldn't.
This brings us to the next batch of footage, and this is when Joshua was trying to serve him papers. At this point, he casually asks the officers, "Hey, can you give this guy a stalking charge?" You know,
Yeah, dedication is amazing.
Get it over with.
I love it.
Hold on. All right. What do you want done today?
As much
Besides,
as you,
obviously, talk to.
as much as you humanly possibly can.
You want her trespass?
No. I want him for stalking.
Okay. That's something I can work through. But for right now, you want her trespassed?
Yes. That's all you can do.
Right now, I can screen charges. But with them
His
saying
man's
there's
with his grippers out.
papers,
Get him, officer.
Kind of puts me in a little bit of a bind. I understand you have a
He showed me
history with-
toes.
I understand you have a history with him. But for right now, again, I'm open to screening charges through our attorney.
That's what Ammon, the CEO of Bricks and Minifigs, said stalking was. So he sent that to me.
So see, even Ammon is involved, right? He's
Why is
the
he
one kind of pulling
shaking?
the strings, telling
Just
Joshua,
so-
"Yo, you can
just
put
a
him on
YouTuber.
stalking. This is technically
Derogatory.
stalking, whatever."
He's
But it's
letting
really
the dogs
interesting,
out.
this dynamic. I mean, this guy's sitting barefoot on the stairs talking to officers as if they're familiar with each other, as if they're friends. They probably are. They all grew up in the same town. They all happen to probably go to the same church. But this really does feel like I'm watching this officer talk to someone who is superior to him. Like, "Hey, what do you want done today? I can do trespassing. I want
the
stalking."
cartel,
Yeah, I
the
can
Lego
work through
cartel.
that. And mind you, they're talking about the process.
We're slipping
server here,
money
too, the
into,
woman
like,
that Ben was with,
give you a
who
minifigs for
literally was
Christmas.
just there to give him the papers. If you're
Hey, Officer Johnson, I heard your kids likes Obi-Wan Kenobi. I got the one that's got like the foreskin still on. You want that one for Christmas? You think little Jimmy is gonna want that one? And God bless. I'll give you that one for Christmas.
Remember, too, this officer was the one who had taken these papers to serve Joshua with, and then would come back to Ben and say, oh, I've never seen papers like this in my life. This is fake. Taking Joshua's word for it before calling the court and confirming that they're real. But then they just end up arresting Ben anyway, so who cares, right?
Yeah, hanging sign. They sent a lady in, and the lady's like, oh, I'm going to murder you. The manager. And the manager is a tough lady.
This never happened.
Fan fiction.
No one told Amanda, hey, we're gonna murder you. Nothing. No, none of that happened, obviously.
Mr. Snyder is just...
He was smiling like she's so cheeky.
And then went to this guy and said, hey, if I can harass these guys, if I can do some stuff and get some money out of them, will you pay me some of that money? And that's what they're trying to do, is the individual who actually owes the money left the United States. They were one of our franchisees. They were terminated as a franchisee for violating all sorts of rules. They then fled to Europe somewhere. And so we've been trying to deal with this situation. We've been trying to help the person up in Oregon, but because we found out later that they've been all working together to try and force some money out of us. So we've had our attorneys working on it. We've been in contact with the Marion County Sheriff's Department, the Marion County District Attorney, the Kaiser, and this is all up in Oregon. And then they started flying down here, coming to our corporate offices, and now they're heading to our staff and other individuals' personal residences to just harass and continue to try and extort money out of them. And so there's already a case in Provo because they've been passing fraudulent documents up in Oregon. They created a fake contract, forged a manager's signature up there, threatened to kill her, all sorts of things.
This is all bullshit! Bro, they're all just like dick sucking each other so hard!
Yeah, he's wearing the glasses. Yeah, so
So this was Ammon, the CEO, talking on the phone. So like all the boys are involved together, and what he was saying was definitely a reach. He would imply that Crystal, the person who had left the US, right, who used to own the Salem store that went to Europe, fled
they threatened
because
to
she
kill
owed
me.
money. When in reality, we saw the security cam footage. She was lied to, and she was forced out.
They edited this out.
Brian had hired Ben, and the whole point of this was just to make some money from the $200,000 owed. If that was really the case, then why does the GoFundMe exist? And again, with this whole lie that Amanda, the store manager, was threatened with murder. I mean, seriously, dude, this is all over the place. It's pathetic. Now, this right here is probably my favorite clip because you can just see his smug ass sitting on his stairs barefoot talking to the officers, where he says that these documents are fake and that this girl is a fake process server, and the cops just eat it up. They just believe him, you know, even though it's completely illegal.
I don't think the officer would taste him. I think the officer would like lick his fucking feet right there. That's why he's doing.
For a cop
Holy
to
shit.
have papers like this and not give them to the person whose name is on them.
All right. She's been trespassed.
Right, hold on. Officer somebody is back.
Okay. She's been trespassed. Talking with him, he's telling me a different story. Again,
Chad,
I
don't
don't
look at the
know all
toes.
specifics of your case. He is very adamant that he
Don't be
wants to
tempted.
serve you with papers. Okay.
That's fake. That's illegal. You can't pretend to be a process server.
So
you can't. That's illegal.
I've explained to him that you don't want to be served papers. He's got to figure something out. If it's, again, I don't know if there's an actual case right now in Oregon.
It's a Class A misdemeanor to impersonate a process server in the state of Utah.
So right now,
I want her arrested for impersonating a process server.
So right now, I've explained that to them and explained that he needs to go a whole different route about this and to not come onto your property as well as her.
No. I can't just go pretend. I can't go print up fake documents and go try to process serve people. That's illegal.
Okay. Have you two been to court before?
No, he can't. No, he's a YouTuber.
Okay, you've never
YouTuber derogatory.
Fake. Yes, 1 billion, trillion, gazillion %.
Okay, never.
Imagine.
Never been to court. Nobody.
Never listen to the YouTuber.
Okay, what was the reason behind your store
Again,
closing?
YouTuber second time.
His harassment and vandalism. Yeah.
Okay. So
Where's the vandalism?
On my own accord. Yes.
Okay.
He can't be right. He's a YouTuber. Yo, this guy wants to sue you and has like a straight up court case, and he wants to serve you. He can't do that. He's a YouTuber.
YouTuber derogatory.
There making demands from the officer. There really is some sort of a power dynamic here, and it's very uncomfortable to watch because it makes you think how many other situations like this exist.
My opponent's a
across the
YouTuber.
US with
Imagine.
police. Probably quite
Low
a few.
class citizen.
I mean, this guy straight up has the phone number of police officers, right? Joshua has phone
Yeah,
numbers.
I agree.
Look at him calling an officer right here.
His name is Ben Schneider. He's stalking my house. Will you come to my house, please, and come get them?
So this is how the 2 patrol cars were able to find him immediately, right? Ammon had called Joshua, told him, yo, they're probably on their way. He saw them, he caught a glimpse of them, he maybe knew they were coming, called a cop's personal phone number. He didn't even call 911, right? And they were there ready at the scene in a bogus traffic stop. This is what we're dealing with here. This isn't a conspiracy. This isn't clickbait. This isn't exaggeration. This is corruption at its finest. These body cams also reveal to us the extent of the corruption that has to do also with the Airbnb. This was all bogus.
This story is wild. The more you know about it.
Owner. Everyone knows each other in this place, okay? Watch it for yourself. This is just a game to them.
Go.
I'm glad they made it so easy to understand. They were blatantly stupid.
Do you remember we were doing Hydro with the guy with the Deagle? Huh? Remember when we did Hydro with the guy with the Desert Eagle? Yeah. This is his Airbnb. He's in my truck right now. Really? I'm not small, right? And I told people that. He was like, what the fuck? That's so funny.
They admit coordination with the Airbnb owner. That is a rabbit hole more!
So we'll keep them on ice until we can start stripping resources. But
keeping them on ice until it's time to search.
Okay.
They redacted all this too?
Yeah, it was great. And the fact that they were coming out when we were walking up.
This was a
Had
March!
his phone recording, so I shut it off. But
Like, not that long ago. Buddy.
Just gonna give him this copy of the warrant, tell him how it went. Where these douchebags probably have property. Oops. Shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said that!
Nothing like flexing a relationship with the Airbnb owner. Nothing.
Have said that. Let's get these douchebags. Oh my god, hold on. Mrs. Camera Editor, can you cut that out? That's fucking crazy. Oh my god. What? Oh, my face. I'm like face palming, honestly. I am face palming right now. My tracking is like gone. Oh, can't wait for this case to make it to the police so can't have any confidential. Generally, that's what I hope. We're only hoping. Jarvis, cut that out. Oh my god!
Calling these people douchebags, even though you're meant to be an unbiased force of the law.
Should have said that.
These
Cut
are
that
not
out.
police officers. These are henchmen. These are mercenaries that are working for the sake of people that they value over others. And speaking of people valuing others, the internet, in all its glory, would find another missing piece of the puzzle. Ammon McNeff wasn't just some random Mormon in Utah. His brother, he has 3 brothers, by the way, 4 sisters, one hell of a family, owns a professional law enforcement training company. This could explain his connection to the American Fork PD, right? How they're practically operating like his private army. When people say Mormon Mafia, this is what they mean. In corruption at such a large scale, I mean, people have been throwing around the word RICO, right? Something made specifically to go after mafias. Now look, this may be a stretch, but the fact that people are thinking of this when they think of this town and this police force and Ammon says a lot already. But I should mention this, okay, as I always try to in my videos. Just because there's a very bad apple who just so happens to be Mormon doesn't mean all Mormons are bad. In fact, residents that are under the American Fork Police Department are planning to protest them and their corruption after they found out just
that's
like the extent
such a
of it.
bad
And this was
reputation
discussed on a Mormon podcast. So not all Mormons are bad, okay? Not all Mormons are part of some weird shady mafia, okay? They're very pissed that a dumbass Lego company was enough to destroy their reputation online. This corrupt police force needs to go. But enough talking about the police. Going back to Bricks and Minifigs, even the employees were starting to go rogue. Here's an employee saying, your local Bricks and Minifigs generates revenue to a corporate bully who weaponizes corrupt police and courts to steal from your local Lego community. Any revenue given to local Bricks and Minifigs stores supports this behavior, supports small businesses, not Bricks and Minifigs. I mean, this was it, guys. If you were into Lego, you were aware of Bricks and Minifigs. But now that you're aware of the controversy, no one's gonna go back there. Why would you sell your vintage Legos to someone that you know will scam you? And why would you go buy vintage Legos from someone you know that has scammed others and will probably scam you on the price too? Ammon could do as much as he wants in terms of damage control. He went on Fox. He went on multiple podcasts.
This man is
whatever.
just
Nothing's gonna work.
generational
He would actually
fuck.
announce on Fox that he was pursuing a lawsuit against Reckless Ben and Brian. But he would offer Brian a way out. If they just sat together and figured it out, he would remove him from the lawsuit. But we'll get to that later. In any case, it didn't make him look better at all. And speaking of things that didn't make him look better, the damage control would continue. On June 4th, Bricks and Minifigs would release another blog post on their website titled Bricks and Minifigs Parts Ways with Salem, Oregon franchise owners Brandon Best and Joshua Johnson. They would say that through their investigation, they'd uncover significant evidence of gross negligence in how the store was previously operated by the prior owner, as well as operational gaps during the transition and the subsequent management of document recovery. It also announced that they had reached out to Brian Mansell and his family
Honestly, I'm just like hooking up, I'm listening.
And to come up with a mutual.
I want to get to my conclusion here.
However, they would want to yet again specify that the $200,000 figure was not accurate. This was at most $100,000 in total. So, you know, you'd read this and you think, well, hey, at least
all the capital being lost in like an investigation here too.
Right after all this, but did it really take tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of views from different content creators to finally make you do this? Really? Like, for example, everyone knows that PayPal sucks ass. There are people out there who have maybe $10,000 in PayPal that can't even access their funds and can't speak to a single human. But we've seen this happen before where a content creator makes a tweet, it goes viral, and then within like 24 hours, PayPal's like, yo, here's your money back, you know? No problem. Sorry, apologies. It's like, if virality is the only way to get issues solved, then why would I ever trust you? And speaking of trust, well,
exactly.
Since they always
that's like probably how you solve a lot of problems too.
When Bricks and Minifigs said they parted ways with Brandon Best about the Salem, Oregon store, they forgot to mention that Brandon owns a second store in Eugene, Oregon. Here's the
shame, public shaming.
Seeing that Brandon was just as culpable here as Joshua, and seeing that he was guilty of bullying, like whenever they wanted to get rid of a franchisee, they would just send him. This showed that Bricks and Minifigs made that statement just to try and save face, just to try and do some damage control. They didn't actually want to get rid of Brandon. And if you actually look at this piece of paperwork here that shows that he's an owner, you can see that there was someone before him that is withdrawing. Brandon is new. So it doesn't take a genius to understand this is the same situation as what happened to Crystal. Someone owned it, for whatever reason wanted to leave, got intimidated, kicked out, Brandon comes in, takes over, rinse and repeat. These guys weren't just friends or co-workers, they were lifelong friends. And Joshua actually served side by side alongside Am and McNaff as missionaries. Look, you can see this in a newspaper article from 2004. God knows who the hell uncovered this, but it's real. Do you really think Am is going to get rid of Joshua? Do you really think he's going to be like, you know what, for the sake of this company, you should go? No. Even as direct suppliers,
they're going to keep them. Oh my God!
Relationships with Bricks and Minifigs, they still didn't care. All right, even their damage control was lackluster. Even their damage control was doing nothing but make it worse for them. They were getting review
Speaking of holes,
the police station involved in this was getting review bombed too. Although those reviews are being removed. Regardless, the damage had been done. This was
like I mentioned before. Once this case went out in the public, Ben wasn't the only opponent this person had. The entire internet was, and some people were about to go like absolute retard on this person's ass. This is how it started. And then you think me removing my bad reviews is gonna be enough? Like the internet is gonna take over. Hi Rin, learning more. Oh yeah, I'll catch up with you in a couple of minutes. I'm watching this. Thanks so much for the raid. I hope you enjoy your develop.
A $400 million company. Its reputation in the gutter because they just couldn't figure out a solution. They were just ghosting someone who was genuinely concerned about the life savings of his dad. Bricks and Minifigs had essentially completely and entirely lost in the court of public opinion, but they were not planning on losing in the court of, in the legal court, in the court of law. They were doubling, or at this point tripling down on it, and things will potentially get very nasty for Ben.
Damn, learning more.
Here are the legal repercussions.
Hi, Fortune.
So as I mentioned earlier, when Aaron went on Fox, he would mention
that
he
was
suing
give me the heavy. I feel like I know all about
Bricks and Minifigs was suing for defamation, disparagement, civil conspiracy, stalking, trespassing, and
you're not gonna win.
Infliction of emotional distress.
You're not gonna win.
It's a pretty extensive list, and that is, I'm pretty sure, separate from the arrest warrant in which Ben is also being sued for stalking and targeted.
They were trying to avoid suing, and now they want to sue
for
other things. They're trying to dig. They're trying to dig
in Mexico.
More.
When I said that Bricks and Minifigs was going to play dirty, I didn't just say that for the sake of saying it. I meant it. They'd understand that a huge portion of Reckless Ben's income, in fact, at this point, I'd say the majority of his income, comes from Patreon because he posts his content here first before YouTube. So Bricks and Minifigs would send a takedown notification to Patreon telling them, please take down Ben's page immediately.
Oh,
now look,
that doesn't work.
I'm going to be completely honest and objective here.
No, unless okay, please someone tell me that Patreon didn't bend the knee for these motherfuckers. Please tell me that. Please tell someone spoil it for me that no, they did not. Oh, thank fucking God! I was gonna be like, oh my goodness, yes, we're Mormons too. We're Mormons. We're gonna be like, Patreon would have lost everything at that point. Patreon would also go down. Patreon CEO told him to fuck off. It's. No, I just needed to banter with the chat for a second. I was like, damn. I'll be watching. Hold on. I'll keep watching.
If this were to happen to anyone else,
Sorry,
Patreon would have obliged. Okay? I don't care. This could be someone who
please,
does charity.
base Patreon. Okay, please be base. Please be base.
Children on the daily. They would have taken down the page. They're not going to deal with the legal bullshit. Okay, but in this case, Patreon saw a massive opportunity. They understood the situation and they felt, you know what? We could make bank on this, and they did. The CEO of Patreon would make a video saying, thanks, but no thanks. He'd essentially be telling Bricks and Minifigs, go fuck yourself. Like, I don't care that you sent this notice. We're not going to do it. This was the easiest W he could ever ask for.
It's
right?
a while.
And if you weren't aware of how big the situation was yet, I mean, now you do, okay? This prompted a CEO response because he knew that doing so would garner him 99.99% positive
God
PR.
damn.
That's just how much the situation was turning against Bricks and Minifigs. But also at the same time, let's not pretend that Patreon's a perfect platform. I've seen many people out there just get taken down for no reason, just like PayPal. But with all this happening, even though Bricks and Minifigs trying their best to use legal means to bully, intimidate, and destroy the life of Ben and everyone else that was involved here, did they really stand a chance? I mean, come on. You watched this video so far, okay? I know it's been a while, but you've watched this whole video so far. It's obvious to anyone with a pair of eyes and ears that they're in the wrong, right? They're not going to win in court, right? Well, look, as I said, these guys played dirty.
You say that we say that, like, like the whole they're not gonna win in court, right? But then what if the court is also like corrupt in some kind of like weird way, like some weird mafia thing is happening in there to be like a stretch to be like, yeah, no, at the end of the day you did like put that sign in here and then we just decided to woohoo surprisingly implement this law just for you. It's like that's something that has happened in the past, but not saying.
And Ammon, the CEO,
they'd be
is
playing
no
dirty.
exception. In fact, if you look at his LinkedIn job history, you see that before acquiring Bricks and Minifigs, he actually used to work at a company called Legally Mine LLC. Now look, Legally Mine actually has been through some controversy of its own. This is an asset protection firm, and back during February 2025, it would be found to have been engaged in the unauthorized practice of law in Ohio by the Supreme Court of Ohio. They were providing legal advice in a place where they weren't allowed to provide any legal advice. So they've already been through the ringer legally. They know what they can get away with, and now they know what they can't get away with. So here's the deal. On June 4th, they would create a new LLC, a new company in Oregon at the address of the Bricks and Minifigs store in Eugene that is still ran by Brandon Best and also now Joshua Johnson. According to this account, this is a legal tactic. An LLC that dissolves cannot be the target of discovery to ascertain what the LLC did with the Mansell collection. So the Star Wars figurines. This is a circle. The wagons moved from the founders of Legally Mine LLC. So look, how accurate is this? Somewhat accurate to a certain extent. The name of Ammon McNeff, the CEO, is on so many company registries, you could probably make an encyclopedia book out of it. So they've used this tactic before. They know what they're doing, okay? If they screw up in an LLC and it closes somehow before a lawsuit, the history of that LLC cannot be used in court in discovery. And discovery is usually when you discover, well, all the things that your opponent has done. In fact, here's something interesting. Reckless Ben, when he sued these people in small claims court with the 10 different lawsuits that amount to $100,000, the court would notify him that he had sued the wrong LLC. There was just so many different LLCs that, yeah, he got screwed over. They were able to close the store before he could file a new lawsuit to the correct LLC. So now he's suing both Joshua and Brandon personally as individuals. But that doesn't mean it'll be any easier either. Look, the channel Legal Eagle made a video titled Everybody's Wrong About the Bricks and Minifigs case. He pretty much talks about how it's really messy. Like technically, based on the contract, there should have been insurance on these Star Wars Lego sets. In an ideal world, okay, in an ideal world of adults, as soon as they would have noticed that there was missing Legos, they should have gotten insurance for those Legos, right? They should have gotten a payout and given the money to Brian. That's it. End of the story. But of course, they didn't. Legal Eagle also does confirm the fact that yes, this consignment is transferable to whoever owns the store. But even with those things in mind, the fact that it had gotten this far deep into not finding a resolution makes things a bit more complicated, especially with all the events that have already occurred.
Oh yeah,
so
I know.
You walk away from this 50-minute video thinking, yes, this is way more complicated than it actually is. Based on many different factors and based on state law, and based on how a civil suit goes in an unpredictable fashion, you don't know exactly who's wrong here. whether it be Joshua and Brandon, whether it be Bricks and Minifigs Corporate. But one thing is for certain, what happened to Brian was wrong. But how are you going to prove that? Through litigation? It'll be so expensive that even if those Legos were worth $200,000, you're barely going to keep any of that money anyway. That's where it gets very, very tricky. But speaking of tricky, this is just talking about Brian, okay? And Brian is fully in the right here. When it comes to Ben, that's an entirely different story. And Legal Eagle does throw a bit of shade, jokingly, at Ben for doing things on his own, indicating that whatever's going to happen in his lawsuit is going to be way more complex than anything involving these Legos. And of course, he wasn't wrong.
Damn.
I wanted to end this video on a good note, saying that, hey, regardless of all these events, at least Ben was able to raise over $400,000 for Brian and his family. But on June 9th, everything would take a turn for the worse. The GoFundMe would be taken down. And the lawsuit of Bricks and Minifigs versus Reckless Ben, the thing they were suing him with, would go live. Additionally,
yeah, but GoFundMe, so the way it works is like it gets the funds like periodically. They can't just take that back at the spot unless like this thing gets resolved. Like they took down the page, but not the payment.
You'd have Brian included in this too. So this whole
Happening
empathetic
no
act
joke.
of Ammon getting on Fox News and saying, oh, Brian, we can figure things out or remove your name from the lawsuit, that was all bullshit. What's even crazier here is that this complaint, this lawsuit, has 10 causes of action, which makes it a Utah RICO. This is what I mentioned earlier in the video. A RICO was something created to take down a mafia, and yet they were using this to try and take down a YouTuber who was helping someone get his Legos back. They didn't want to charge him with defamation.
Trying to escalate it from like, a small misdemeanor. Let's lie about them having drugs. No, let's lie about them having something more dangerous. Oh, let's lie about them actually stealing from us. How about let's go and accuse them of like this RICO thingy. It's like, what the
falsehood, civil conspiracy, tortious interference with existing and prospective economic
life,
relations,
torture, terrorism,
public
death
and private
threats,
nuisance, trespass, and intentional infliction of emotional
Your Honor,
distress.
they're one of my Legos.
Additionally, what's crazy here is that the judge seems to be
they're not my
as
Legos.
corrupt as possible. He would allow Bricks and Minifigs to serve Ben through email. This is something that Bricks and Minifigs had asked for specifically, and he had granted them that motion. This doesn't happen every day. This means that Ben cannot avoid this. He received the email. And what's absurd here is that there's a gag order that would get placed on Ben. He cannot speak on Bricks and Minifigs anymore, and although he was planning to release part 3 of his video series on Tuesday,
how to kill your reputation,
he wasn't able to.
In
the judge would argue that Ben will suffer no legitimate harm if he can't upload anymore. How? Make that make sense to me. Yeah, some guy will suffer no legitimate harm if he can't do his full-time job? Seriously? This is why many believe already that this judge is bought and paid for by Bricks and Minifigs.
No!
They also, of course, mentioned that he's most likely Mormon. Ben would announce this on his YouTube channel on the 9th
That's
of June.
insane!
The day he was meant to upload
Even the
episode 3 to his
court?
Patreon, and pretty much tell everyone that he just can't do anything anymore. He's completely silenced. He just has to go through with this lawsuit and hope for the best. The thing that's worrying everyone is the fact that he still hasn't retained a lawyer. He still doesn't have a lawyer to officially represent him. And when it comes to GoFundMe, it wasn't Reckless Ben's decision to take it down. It was GoFundMe that took it down.
Some pricey
post saying they took down Brian's GoFundMe, sad face. I wish I could talk about it, but I'll go to jail if I do because of the gag order, right? Actually, you know what? Don't worry, because this roller coaster just keeps going up and down like every single day. The GoFundMe page is back. Reckless Ben would confirm this in a post one day after it was taken down on June 10th and would say, maybe someday I'll be allowed to talk about what's going on behind the scenes. It's crazy. So again, he can't talk because of the ongoing lawsuit, but one can assume
I saw
that
this
Bricks
post.
and Minifigs sent a letter to GoFundMe very similar to the one that they had sent to Patreon. And now GoFundMe's like, nope, we're not going to do that. That's how far they're willing to go. They want to attack GoFundMe money and potentially take it for themselves, saying that this is for damages, the damages you caused to our business. This is just pathetically disgusting. But what isn't disgusting is the fact that citizens of this area are now in the American Fork City Council demanding accountability and saying that they've been living in fear of retaliation after seeing what their police, you know, the American Fork Police Department, was willing to do
like
to
there's
cover
more.
for Bricks and Minifigs, a corporation. I can't imagine what it's like to be a citizen there and witnessing these things. Like my own police force, the ones that are meant to protect me, will throw me under the bus just because of a corporation? No wonder they're pissed. Look, I want to be optimistic here, and I really wish Ben the best, but it's not looking good at all right now. Even if you were to get an amazing team of lawyers, a case like this is
but
not
why
gonna end in a
target
week.
Ben at this point? There were other people like doing more in depth, and you'll have them more. There's people have made like enemies with like.
Okay, this is going to take a
The
very
internet.
long time. In the meantime,
Stop.
though, I hope that no
This
one
is gonna
forgets that this is
escalate.
going on. I hope that people stand up for Ben. And
Oh,
make
you
Bricks
were
and Minifigs
worried about the
understand that they
one
fucked up big time.
YouTuber
This is a $400 million
derogatory.
company who could have solved this overnight if they wanted to by doing the right thing. And instead, even though they have millions of eyeballs on them, they still decide to go with the route of bullying the smaller man. So for the sake of justice, for the sake of anyone out there that gets wronged by a bigger corporation, let's hope that he can make
then
it
what's
through
the
this
DPS
and
for
come
all
out
this?
as the winner. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I really appreciate it, especially with how long this video is. God damn.
It's a photo in Mexico escaping from
Stacked.com page. It's like Patreon, but better. Prices start at $1. I love you so
what
much.
the hell?
And I will see you in the next video whenever.
Oh my gosh.
Is. Take care. Mwah.
Let's see. Joshua voices in my head Johnson. I swear to God, you have my word. Actually, you know what? Sue me, pussy. Fuck you. VTuber was able to expose the corruption in the police department. Why did he take one goddamn YouTuber? Derogatory. It's insane how that kind of works out. But I don't know. This is just awful. And this is basically still ongoing. I'm kind of looking forward to see. Also, someone said that apparently Lego has something as well. But yo, this is the end of the Mojang beta reaction. Oh my god, Cafecilla also reacted to it. There's more to it too. That's an end. This is a deep rabbit hole. Honestly, what an interesting ride. Jeez.